Yo, what is going on, everybody? Whoa, we've got. Look at that. I can see the chat. I wasn't able to see that there are plenty of people already talking in chat. We're doing this another vertical stream. Figured it would be a little bit of fun to do that, especially with the content. Honestly, it's easier for me to see your guys' messages and respond to them and everything like that. So much easier when we do streams like this. So I hope you guys are all doing well. It is June 7th, 2025, 2:32 p.m. And today we are here to discuss that Gojo was never winning. Gojo was never winning, and I figured we could go ahead and debate because I saw a lot of people that were discussing, my shorts. They were discussing all of the different things that were going on. Like that I was wrong about Forearm Sukuna being able to win, and I would very much be curious to hear what any of you guys have to say on the matter, genuinely, because in my opinion, I really don't think Gojo is going to be able to beat Sukuna in any shape or fashion, even if he did dodge the world cutting slash, as Gege said. Fully agree, but oh man, this is going to be a headache. Hey, listen, you know, I've got my GamerSups, which by the way, the stream is sponsored by GamerSups, gamersups.gg/no-op. Jesse, Tiberius, I see you guys are in the chat. Thank you so much for being here. Jesse or Tiberius, can either one of you just put in the gamersups.gg/no-op message and then pin it? Please, I would appreciate that. I can't do that from my phone. But the plot was going to have Gojo lose. I mean, always the plot was going to have Gojo lose, without a doubt. The whole entire idea, I don't even know how the story would continue if Gojo didn't lose. But also at the end of the day, I think if Gojo, dodged the world cutting slash, I don't necessarily think that means that he would win. I still personally think that Four-Arm Sukuna is a stronger sorcerer than Gojo is, and I still think Four-Arm Sukuna would be able to beat Gojo. I know Isakuna didn't use Fuga, but I think he should have at least tried it, not gonna lie, in his domain. The thing is he didn't really think it was necessary, right? Because he had Maharaga. Whereas if he didn't have Maharaga, where in this case, if we're saying Four-Arm Sukuna versus Gojo, he wouldn't have Maharaga. The making a binding vow that works with the fire arrow makes so much more sense, right? Like you have to also imagine the different things that he's doing. Thank you so much, Tiberius. Can you drop the art of the stream on Discord? Yeah, I have it on my phone. I downloaded it on Pinterest, but I can drop it into Discord when the stream is over for sure. Let's be honest, Gojo was pulling shit out of his ass every time Sukuna got him in his domain. I mean, I don't want to take anything away from Gojo whatsoever either. Gojo also was putting out a lot of amazing work. I think, honestly, like Gojo versus Meguna, a lot of people don't even realize was like a coin flip in general, just because every single time one of them was breaking their brains to recharge their domain expansion and then reuse their domain expansion, it was a coin flip. It was a 50-50 without a doubt. I wholeheartedly believe that like the fight could have gone any different way. Sukuna being unable to use Fuga versus Gojo is a hill I'm dying on. He couldn't generate enough Therm bullshit dust because he had to reduce domain range. Well, it's not necessarily that he would never be able to use it, because remember, the only reason that Sukuna is unable to use it out is the only reason the binding vow of Sukuna, fire arrow, I say fire arrow. I know people make fun of me for saying fire arrow. It's just easier to say fire arrow, personally, in my honest opinion. Finally, we agree on something. That's what I'm talking about, Noah. The whole point of the binding vow is when Sukuna is outnumbered, it takes so long to charge up the fire arrow that he is only able to use it inside of his, he's only able to use it inside of his domain. Being able to use the fire arrow inside of his domain is where it includes the thermo, whatever the fuck you were just talking about, right? I can't say it specifically. The therm bullshit. Yeah, therm bullshit. We'll call it therm bullshit. And how it creates the combustion where it's literally just instant KO for everything in the area, right? Like, Sukuna can use it outside of that. It all just depends on after using Dismantle and Cleave and then setting up enough cursed energy and enough sparks to actually fire the fire arrow. So he can still use that outside of the domain. That is only a condition when he's outnumbered. The only reason he didn't use it inside of the domain, because remember, the fire arrow can really only work against Gojo. It can't pierce infinity. It has to go through the domain with the guaranteed hit. So with the constant changing of the domain conditions and everything like that, that wouldn't have been a viable option. However, if you consider that Sukuna doesn't have Maharaga, in a sense of you get Gojo, who is unable to use the domain at the moment because he's on full Black Flash, right? And then going into that, he's on fourth Black Flash, so Gojo has to hit one more Black Flash to gain a domain expansion. So even if it does go into a domain, which I'll get into, I have notes here on my computer. We'll go into the full battle and everything like that. I still fully believe that Sukuna would be able to hold out in a domain expansion, even though Sukuna can't use domain himself. Sukuna, 4 arms. He's got the Hollow Wicker Basket, and he's got the other arms to also throw hands with and combat with. We literally saw him duke it out with Yuji, Yuta, and Rika, all while using Hollow Wicker Basket. Good luck, bro. I'm bringing Bean to the library now. Let's go. Get those books and knowledge in the brain. I love to hear that, Tiberius. Be safe. Be safe. Thank you for the 5, a Mongoose. Do you think Sukuna would have beaten Gojo without World Slash if he landed some Black Flashes against Gojo? Are we speaking if Meguna would have just landed a couple Black Flashes and was able to increase his output alongside of Gojo? I mean, the one thing that I was kind of upset that we never got to see was Chimera Shadow Garden. What up, RM3? What up, Loud? Sukuna used Chimera Shadow Garden, so that kind of stinks. I would have liked to have seen him use that. Maybe if he got a couple of Black Flashes, he might have been able to use that. But personally, I think Gojo versus Meguna is a different story entirely, because why I think 4-arm Sukuna has a better chance against Gojo is completely different from Meguna. Like, I think 4-arm Sukuna has a really good chance of beating Gojo because he has the extra set of arms, he has the extra mouth that will make incantations easier, and a lot of people that say the World Cutting Slash and everything like that, when it's very, like, when it takes too long to charge up the World Cutting Slash, he's still able to throw out in another second or two. You literally said in our debate, Gojo beat Meguna. Right, like I said, as far as it goes, like Gojo versus Meguna, like, yes, Gojo was the victor of that fight. However, the point is 4-arm Sukuna, I think, has a much better chance of beating Gojo. Meguna does not have the advantages over Gojo that I think 4-arm Sukuna does. Gojo versus Meguna is still a 50-50 at the end of the day, right? Yes, Gojo did win, but remember, again, I and this isn't me like trying to fight for Sukuna or anything like that. This is wholeheartedly me being just using the material that I'm seeing. The manga tells us specifically, especially from Shoko, that every single time Gojo and Sukuna are spinning their head around, not spinning their head, they're spinning their block, they're spinning their brain, they're breaking their brain, recharging it with reverse curse technique. Every time they do that, it's a coin flip. It's a 50-50 chance. Can you guys hear me? You guys can't hear me? Hello? Ayo, thank you for the 10 gifted. Appreciate that. Oh, wait, never mind. I was like, Derek. No. Okay, yeah, Derek, thank you so much. Thank you for the 10 gifted, Loud. I appreciate that love. Everyone hit that like button as well. Appreciate the love and the support. So, what was I saying? I completely forgot. So every single time there was a 50-50 shot. And remember, Sukuna can use domain expansion, was able to use domain expansion 3 to 4 times, in my opinion. Not in my opinion. 3 to 4 times before he had to start breaking his brain. I think it was actually 3 times exactly that he was able to break his, before he had to break his brain. Whereas Gojo had to start breaking his brain from the very beginning. So even from the very start of the battle, Gojo was fighting an uphill battle. Like, he was fighting an uphill, disadvantageous struggle. So I definitely think when it came down to Gojo versus Meguna, Gojo had the better hand-to-hand. I think when it came down to Gojo versus Meguna, Gojo had the better guaranteed hit for domain expansion. Lilo's thank you for the 5. Just based on your logic, Kashima would give Meguna a U fight. I'm not sure. I know that was a typo. I don't think a good fight. Kashima would give Meguna a good fight. Would Kashima give Meguna a good fight? Probably. I mean, Kashima, I think, would do better against Meguna than he did against 4-arm Sukuna, right? I definitely fully believe that. I definitely 110% fully believe that 4-arm Sukuna is the superior version. A tough fight. I don't know exactly how. I would have to think about that. You know what I mean? Like I didn't prepare to have that conversation. But at the end of the day, but like just based off of, so keep in mind, I may change this. I may change my opinion after thinking about this longer. But off first impression of Kashimo versus Meguna, I mean, if we're giving Kashimo Mythical Beast Amber here, I would have to imagine that if we're giving them, Meguna is still able to keep up with Mythical Beast Amber to a certain degree. Meguna was severely damaged until he fixed his entire body, going forearm Sukuna. Meguna, if you give him Agito and Maharaga, I mean, if Maharaga adapts to the lightning, it's kind of over. So I, I actually think Meguna, in certain instances, actually, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, Meguna probably is a better chance of victory against Kashimo. Kashimo never stood a chance, realistically, if you really think about it. Kashimo would never stand a chance, because if you're talking Meguna, Meguna has Maharaga. Once Maharaga adapts to lightning, it's over. It's absolutely over, because all of Mythical Beast Amber are phenomena of electricity. So it's not like Gojo, where Gojo has red, blue, and purple, and also infinity, and he has multiple different assets to the curse technique. You quite literally have a situation where once Maharaga adapts to electricity, it's kind of cooked. And I see what you're saying, where you're like, oh, you said he would give Gojo a tough fight. I don't necessarily, like, remember, Jujutsu Kaisen is all down to matchup, right? I'm just making sure I get all these donos. Thank you so much for the donos, everybody. I genuinely do appreciate it. Tiberius, I give it the 5. At least we can all agree Hikari is the heaviest shitter, though. Right? Dude, Hikari gets a bad name. Hikari would actually do really good against Sukuna. Just based off of, as long as he's in Jackpot. If Hikari's not in Jackpot, he's probably fucked. But if he is in Jackpot going into the battle, he could probably give Sukuna a fun time. I mean, if Sukuna was enjoying himself with Todo, he would enjoy himself with Hikari too. Everyone, make sure you hit the like button. I know the vertical streams are super weird to find the like button, but it helps the channel way more than you know. I'm making sure I don't miss any of these donos. Thank you for the 5, Loud. Would Kashimo fight Gojo if Gojo won? I don't know about that. If Gojo won, I don't know if Kashimo would probably want a good fight, so maybe he probably would be like, all right, Gojo. But I don't think he'd fight Gojo immediately afterwards, right? He might give Gojo, like, he's like, all right, Gojo, I'll fight you when you're back to, when you have time to prepare. Maybe we'll meet up, and it's just like, that's how Kashimo gets sent to the afterlife, right? That's his, like, clause for leaving, because Maki hides the two dudes, the sumo wrestler and the samurai guy. She's like, hey, they're going to start eliminating the sorcerers, so you guys hide out in Tokyo. And all the other ones probably go on their own accord. Well, most of the other ones are dead, right? But, yeah, either way, I think Kashima would be like, yeah, I'll go on my own, just, let me fight Gojo. And I think Gojo would win the battle, right? I think, to be very clear, I definitely think Gojo would win against Kashimo, without a doubt. I think that's very obvious, just because Gojo has domain expansion. Even though Kashimo has Hollow Wicker Basket, Unlimited Void is a guaranteed fucking KO. And also at the same time, I think Gojo has, a better hand-hand presence, like I said, than Meguna. So he's going to be wiping the floor with Kashimo even easier than that. Kashimo would be tough, because the thing with Kashimo that I completely agree and will say, I don't think it's a no diff whatsoever. I think Kashimo gets a bad rap. Kashimo is about, like, top 8, top 7. He is in the top 10. Mythical Beast Amber is a significantly powerful ability, because the thing is, it's with light and radiation. It has nothing to do with lightning, right? Like, yes, we have seen Limitless block lightning before. That's not a surprise. That's not something that I disagree with. What I do disagree with is the things like light and radiation. So sure, you could argue that, oh well, Gojo's Infinity blocked fire, so fire is, at the end of the day, radiation. So Gojo is able to block radiation. That is I'm not arguing that either. Gojo can pretty much block whatever he wants out of Limitless. The only difference is the automatic detection of Limitless only works for subatomic up to subatomic particles. That's why toxins and anything smaller than subatomic is not able to be automatically detected. It is able to go through limitless if Gojo is not expecting it to happen, doesn't notice it, or is in the case of World Cutting Slash, he was cocky and off and wasn't thinking about it and didn't think his limitless could be pierced. So so Gojo has to manually block that attack. It's not so much that Gojo is just able to block anything that he needs to, right? Like anything smaller than subatomic has to be manually detected. Gojo can manually detect the radiation. He can block that out. He just like he did with Jogo when he blocked the fire. He blocked the heat. However, when it comes to light, which is the real issue, because light is able for Kashimo to go, Kashimo can literally use HM2 flash, from Pokemon and just shoot a big, ball of light out from himself. One, the speed of light, I don't care what anybody says, is faster than anything in Jujutsu Kaisen. Jujutsu Kaisen, at best, if we're talking Gojo and Sukuna, if you want to get them to the highest just based off of Mythical Beast Amber, you can say speed of lightning if you really want to wank them. And even then, I would argue they're somewhere in between halfway to speed of lightning. I wouldn't even argue anyone in Jujutsu Kaisen is the speed of lightning. I would say they're probably half of, if not a third of, somewhere in the middle there, right? However, when it comes to Game Universe, it's literally stated Geto would have won if he didn't waste curses at the parade. Yeah, 100%. I completely agree with that. These are extremely hot takes that are debunked by the manga countless times. I mean, the thing is like it makes sense. I'm not like I'm trying my best to not use headcanon. I'm pretty much just limitless blocks and atomic level comes from JJK0. Don't use it unless you think Rika is a Gojo level. LOL. I mean, the thing is, right, is the 6 eyes is what works on the atomic level. We know this. This is a huge misconception. Loud Media, thank you for the 5. Would Kashimo survive Malevolent Shrine? Probably not. I don't know how well Hollow Wicker Basket is holding up against motherfucking Malevolent Shrine. So like, the thing is, when it comes to like atomic level and everything like that, Gojo's 6 eyes controls cursed energy on an atomic level. That's what we know. As far as it goes, we also get confirmation in hidden inventory. It's not even that we can use the JJK0, right? Even on hidden inventory, Gojo himself states that after learning how to use automatic limitless, the issue is he still has to manually detect subatomic particles, anything, and toxins and things like that. So that's really where it comes down to, where Gojo can get caught off guard by the lightning. I don't want to get too bogged down because it's supposed to be Gojo versus Sukuna. Do you believe that we could, even if Sukuna himself thought Gojo could beat him, objectively say Gojo couldn't beat him? Do you think that's logical? Explain the Sukuna doubt after. No, I definitely would never say that like it's a guaranteed. Well, I guess the stream is called Gojo was never winning. But at the end of the day, like I'll be dead honest with you. I'll use the exact same kind of logic that I use for the Gojo versus Meguna fight. It really does come down to who is able to get their ultimate attack off first. How can you say Gojo was never winning when Sukuna clearly acted in a manner with caution, inferring that he thought Gojo could potentially win? I mean, if we're going to use that argument, I mean, like Gojo also thought he could lose at the same time. So I don't think a character being like, whoa, okay, I actually might have to lock in here or I might die. I don't think that really is the determining factor of like, I mean, like there are plenty of crazy fights where like a character is like, oh shit, you might have been able to kill me there, but they still fucking handle the attack. What I'm saying is, the battle between Forearm Sukuna and Gojo. So let's say, for example, Gojo dodges the World Cutting Slash. Let's say Gojo dodges the World Cutting Slash. He wasn't off guard. He saw the spark of curse energy, dodges it. One big thing that I've noticed here is that a lot of people think for some reason that it Sukuna's full form required Kamutoke. I don't think that was ever implied, ever stated, or ever put anywhere in the series. I think Orame dropped Kamutoke off just for some extra firepower, but Sukuna always could have turned into forearm, version at any point in time. It's literally something that he was just saving when he absolutely needed it. He wasn't able to use reverse curse technique anymore, so he said, "All right, well, if I'm not able to heal my body with reverse curse technique at the moment, I have to do this," and revealed his forearm form, full arm form. So I don't know where this he needed Kamutoke to transform. Gojo would stop Arame from handing him Kamutoke, so that way Sukuna would never be able to transform. I like these lives. Please keep doing them. I appreciate that, the real fat man. But I just don't see where a lot of the idea of that idea comes from. Just listen to Gege thinking, well, that's what I'm explaining is Gege never said that Gojo would win, right? Gege said that Gojo was caught off guard by the world cutting slash. Even if Gojo dodged the world cutting slash, there's no guarantee that Gojo would have won. Now, I thought Yorozu was asking why hadn't Sukuna transformed before their fight, implying he could. Yes, the black blur, exactly. When we say forearm Sukuna, do we mean Shinjuku or Heian-era? So Shinjuku Sukuna against Gojo. So here's the interesting thing. I think, so contrary to what Arame says, I think against Gojo, Shinjuku Sukuna has the advantage where Gojo doesn't want to completely destroy the body. I mean, if he has to, he has to, but he doesn't want to. Whereas if it was Heian-era Sukuna, Gojo can just go all out and not worry about killing him. It's nice to make it to one time. This is chill. I like it here. I like having you too, RM3. I'm happy to see you, and I 110% know exactly what you mean. I think all around, Heian-era Sukuna was the absolute strongest version of Sukuna. However, Jujutsu Kaisen works based off of matchups, and that is really where what I feel like that's what a lot of people don't realize. For the manga that is all fights and it's carried by fight scenes and there's no character development, the series works all based off of strategies, all based off of matchups and how certain techniques work back and forth. Because to be completely honest with you, like I said, all around, I think Heian-era Sukuna is stronger. However, in a sense, up against Gojo, I would probably say Shinjuku Sukuna has the advantage. But anyway, getting back into, like, if Gojo dodged World Cutting Slash, right? So Gojo is, yes, 100% ramping back up to 100%. Sukuna transforms into forearm form. One thing that I want to make very clear is Sukuna in forearm form, even right after he transforms, is still a very insanely, extremely powerful being, and is only going to gain more stamina and gain more power as the course of the fight goes on. So Gojo's at Black Flash number 4. Gojo is undoubtedly at a higher level. If Gojo's refreshed completely, the 6 eyes is working full flesh, he can use full power red, full power blue. He can literally, the only thing that Gojo can't do at this point is domain expansion, because we know that you need to hit at least 5 based off of Sukuna. You could, now, if you're going to sit here and argue that because of the 6 eyes and the better cursed efficiency, 4 Black Flashes is all Gojo needed to do domain expansion, that's fine. That's completely fine. No problem. I don't want to argue too much about that and get bogged down in the water here, because even if you do give Gojo domain expansion, we can definitely talk about that as we get into it. What's up, everyone? I'm glad to see you all hop in. I appreciate every single one of you guys being here. Make sure you don't forget to hit that like button on the stream. It really helps. But so to remind everyone, Sukuna right after transforming was still able to throw hands with Mythical Beast Amber Kashimo, probably top 7th sorcerer in the entire series, was literally no diffing him, net dismantled him in one single attack. But also, before transforming, if you want to argue that Gojo would try his best to stop Meguna from doing the forearm transformation or getting Kamutoke, again, Meguna, before transforming, still tanked sonic booms, multiple punches from Mythical Beast Amber, and a huge lightning attack. Um, and to be clear, Sukuna's cursed energy output wasn't brought down to a level of Yuta's until he took over like 10 soul punches and dismantles from Yuji and was down to, and literally was right before it was just Yuji and Toto, and was after he had used his domain expansion when he basically wasn't even supposed to because he used a different side of his brain for the domain expansion. To say that forearm Sukuna was, down to his last leg and he was super weak and Gojo was going to be no diffing him is just unrealistic. I want to make that very clear that even after just transforming into forearm form, he was an insanely powerful, powerful demon of a sorcerer. Glitching Alice, thank you for the 5. Happy to see you in chat. Someone said Kizaru didn't bypass when Gojo needed to see, aka light bypassing. Oh, you're talking about Kashimo? Yeah, that's what I mean, and that's what I was gonna get to, but I didn't want to get bogged down on Gojo versus Kashimo because that's not what the stream is supposed to be about. But like at the end of the day, just to be a quick little oh, I meant doesn't. Oh. So let me real quick. Oh, Kizaru from One Piece. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm dumb. I'm not a One Piece fan, so I didn't understand that. Don't know. I apologize. But yeah, no. The One Piece fans that do know what you're talking about will definitely be able to will definitely know that they're wrong now. Yeah, light, exactly. Because the thing with Gojo and the same thing with Kashimo, if Kashimo uses light, Gojo has to, if Gojo can slow down light, probably. I don't doubt that. But the thing is, if Gojo slows down light, then he can't see anything. He's blind. And the 6 eyes are pointless at that point. Sure, the Limitless protects him from everything, but Gojo literally can't see anything. So it's just tough. But getting back into what I was talking about here. So yeah, so we went over the fact that forearm Sukuna, even from the beginning when he first transforms after being unlimited hollowed, is still a very powerful character, right? I mean, this character again was not even brought down to Yuta's level until he was already being soul punched and dismantled from Yuji multiple times. Even Choso says as much, that no matter, even though Sukuna keeps ramping up power-wise, as long as they have someone like Yuji, Sukuna can never really gain back any ground because Yuji keeps setting back everything that Sukuna does. And it's even also said as well that Sukuna would have gained reverse curse technique back at the second Black Flash that he did, but because Yuji was hitting him with soul punches and soul dismantles, Sukuna missed the opportunity to gain reverse curse technique back at the second Black Flash. So that's why it took him even longer to gain back his power. So realistically speaking, Sukuna can also reach Gojo's stamina level at 4 arms after 2 Black Flashes. And Sukuna being locked in after going full form and going against Gojo isn't that undeniable. He hit 7 Black Flashes in the fight in Shinjuku after fighting Gojo. So while sure, Gojo could hit his 5th Black Flash and get a domain expansion very quickly, he's way closer back to getting his domain expansion. I definitely think that Sukuna hitting 5 Black Flashes and catching up and regaining his domain, while that was very tough to do against a Gojo, that's 100%. I still see, again, he's not going up against the same odds. He doesn't have the soul dismantles and soul attacks that are fucking up his body and fucking up his stamina being regained after entering 4-armed transformation. So I think that's very important to recognize here. Also, not for nothing, even after just transforming, he net dismantled Kashimo in one shot. Was still able to world cutting slash. And Kusakabe, even after just emerging when he was fighting Higuruma and he steps out of Higuruma's domain expansion and he fires the volley of dismantle attacks when they think that he doesn't have his curse technique anymore and it turns out Kamutoke was stolen. Kusakabe admits, even though he reinforced his cursed energy over the course of the month and spent a lot of training to do that, and also used Simple Domain to dull the damage of the dismantle, Kusakabe admits that he almost fucking died. Almost died immediately. In one shot, in one dismantle volley. So, I want to make it very clear, like, 4-arm Sukuna, even just turning into 4-arm Sukuna, was powerful. Again, shout out to Gamersubs, gamersubs.gg/noop, 10% off. So this is a yap session, Sukuna glazing, and not actually reading comments to counterclaim. I am going back and reading, comments, but I also don't want to repeat myself at the exact same time, right? I'm going through what I believe, and then I can, check a bunch of comments as well. I can't do both, unfortunately. I am not a superhuman. But I did see your chat. But I did see your chat. Sukuna's only two ways to hurt Gojo are amplification, world slash, which means a laundry list of conditions. So, perfect. Let's get into that then. Let's get into that because I was just going to talk about the hand-to-hand and stuff, but we can talk right about the world cutting slash, and that goes right into it. Because world cutting slash, everyone's like the laundry list of conditions. Oh, it takes so long to charge up. Does it really take long for Sukuna to fire world cutting slash? Let's go back here and think a little bit. So Sukuna fighting Kashimo, right, who supposedly is the speed of lightning, and everyone's like, oh, blah 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 blah. Sukuna not only gave Kashimo time to dodge, he told him dodge this. His mouth chanted the conditions. He made the hand sign and fired. Takes like a second or two. And also, not for nothing, the same thing when he goes up against Higuruma, when he's literally boxing Higuruma and Yuji at the same time. He dismantles Yuji, throws him away, destroys a building, and then literally he flips upside down and then goes and then fires it as he's doing the chanting with the forearms and the mouth on his stomach. The mouth on his stomach is specifically stated to be able to continuously chant without putting any strain on his lungs and or breathing capacity. So he is able to consistently chant through his stomach. So chanting isn't the issue. As long as he's able to make the hand signs and target, he can fire world cutting slash in about a minute, in about a second or two. It really does not take long. Yuta was stopped from using purple, so it may not be crazy to think that Gojo can stop Sukuna from chanting and signing, but maybe using blue to mess up the positioning or teleporting around. I completely agree with that. I don't think it would be easy for either of them to get off that attack. I also want to make that very clear. I want to make that very clear that I don't think it's easy for either of them to get off their ultimate attack. It's the same thing that Sukuna says to Yuta Gojo when they're in the domain expansion, right? When Yuta Gojo goes to hit purple the first time, Sukuna immediately bops him out of the form and then starts boxing him. And then Sukuna literally says, he goes, why do you think Gojo had to use purple in such a haphazard way? Because I'm not just going to let you fire off hollow purple. There's no way that you can just do that. So I think it's stated specifically that, yes, world cutting slash is babam. World cutting slash is a very devious option. But also on top of that, you have the issue of, I'm just reading chat. I'm sorry. I'm getting completely bogged down here. But you have the same issue with purple, right? Like Sukuna is not just going to let Gojo fire purple either. Because at this point, with just forearm Sukuna, even though he doesn't have full reverse curse technique, because it's also important to remember that even though Sukuna's reverse curse technique wasn't at full output, he was still able to heal. He was still able to heal to a certain degree. It was just very slow because he cuts his hand off when he's fighting Higuruma, and then he gets his hand back in not that long. So if he was forearm Sukuna, the domain clash happens and Sukuna beats Gojo during it, which makes the domain kill Gojo. There you go. So with forearms and the mouth, so getting into like a domain clash of sorts, I definitely think Sukuna is the superior fighter in domain clashes, especially with forearms. I think that is without a doubt. I think that's a big time pro. Like forearm Sukuna has a lot of pros over most average sorcerers, which for one, he is a much better hand-to-hand combatant because he has forearms. So he's able to literally, grab a hold of someone's arms and then also continually box their face. Like, that's also very important to remember. He has the ability to make his hand signs 2 times faster because he has two sets of arms. His stomach continuously chants, as we mentioned before, so his incanted and amplified dismantles can fly out. World cutting slash really doesn't take that long to go. He may possibly also have Kamutoke, which not that lightning would be able to go through Gojo's limitless, but it would still be able to produce a lot of, attacks that Gojo would have to deal with. Suguna also, as we see him use against Kusakabe, can fire dismantle without tells. So if he's able to fire dismantles without tells and Gojo can't see the spark of the dismantle as we basically get shown multiple times in the fight, it's tough. Do you like Buddhism at all? If so, do you like the Theravada or Mahayana more? I'm not too familiar with Buddhism. I do think it's very interesting. But I'm only really familiar with Buddhism as far as like stories and things that use it as like references and like into their lore. But I'm not too familiar with actual Buddhism. I'm sorry. Um, Is your prompt based on headcanon or how the story was supposed to go, narratively speaking? No, my prompt is based off of everything that I'm saying right now, that, like, even if Gojo dodged the world-cutting slash, Sukuna still would have won. I'm looking through chat right now. I'm just seeing what everybody is saying just to make sure I'm responding to everything. Forearm Sukuna grab Kachima's arms while beating him up with his other two arms. That's what I'm saying, Antonio. Like, Sukuna Meguna, two-armed Meguna versus Gojo. Gojo was better hand-to-hand. When it's forearm Sukuna versus Gojo, Sukuna has better hand-to-hand. And also, not for nothing, if we want to say that Gojo hits that Black Flash, Gojo is able to use Unlimited Void, and Sukuna is forced into using Holler Wicker Basket so he doesn't get Unlimited Voided and fucking killed. He has the two sets of arms. He's able to Holler Wicker Basket and also duke it out and fight. And if you want to be like, oh, that's too disadvantaged, Sukuna wouldn't be able to do that. Like, Sukuna is, again, boxing Yuta, Yuji, and Rika in Yuta's domain while his two sets of hands are hollow wicker basketing. So, to be clear, there's multiple, source material in there that is definitely telling you that Sukuna would still be able to fight hollow wicker basket inside of Unlimited Void without a doubt. What up, King Ace? Factoring in lore stuff or just power techniques and how in depth are we going? I have a whole string put together of all of the different fights and all of the different feats and everything that we've seen from Sukuna. I went through the entire fight and everything just to make sure. I don't ever want to come off as like I don't know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be saying this if I didn't believe it and if I didn't have enough evidence to make me believe it either. I'm seeing you, the real fat man. I see you. What you saying? Gojo will not be able to use blue to disorient a forearm. Sukuna can seamlessly switch between amp and technique. If he's using amp, he can dampen blue and red. He won't lose in hand-to-hand at least. 110%. Sukuna is still able to use domain amplification even though he doesn't have access to his actual domain expansion. This is shown to us multiple times. Do you think without world cutting slash it's possible for him to win? I understand the domain may be killing Gojo, but maybe that'd be much more of a hassle. So it definitely would be much more of a hassle if Sukuna didn't have world cutting slash. I want to make that very clear. Like, I definitely think I want to make it very clear. Like, when I say Sukuna didn't need Maharaga, I obviously Sukuna got Maharaga because it was very convenient for him to beat Gojo. But I want to make it very clear. Sukuna was interested in Megami and wanted to push Megami's potential and was waiting for Megami to show the ultimate technique and show, this amazing thing before he even knew what Maharaga was, right? I want to make that very clear as well, that, like, it wasn't until Sukuna actually saw Maharaga in Shibuya that he was like, oh, shit, this is the perfect way to kill Gojo. This is the perfect way to deal with Infinity. And remember, Sukuna, it's not that Sukuna didn't think that he was ever going to beat Gojo. Sukuna would have still fought Gojo every single time. It's just, when he saw what Megami was capable of, he was like, I was right to like you. I was right to pay attention to you and keep you alive. He would have found another way without Maharaga, without a doubt. I think it's very important to remember that when it comes to being able to pierce Limitless, Sukuna has domain amplification. That gets through Limitless. He can use domain amplification inside his own domain, and he can also effortlessly swap between his own technique and domain amplification without interrupting the technique. So if you want to argue that he's able to, sure, throw, but and we also see him when he's fighting in Shinjuku, right, where he's fighting Choso, he's slinging the dismantle volleys, and then he's fucking like shooting himself behind Choso and attacking Choso into the dismantles before the dismantles even get to Choso. Sukuna is moving faster than his dismantle volleys even are. So who's to say that Sukuna can't shoot dismantle volleys to throw Gojo off guard? Sukuna shoots behind Gojo, domain amplifications. Sukuna is going to have to be as close as possible to make sure that Hollow Purple does not go off, right? That is one of the most important things to be concrete. Both characters are going to have it in their best interest. Gojo is not going to want Sukuna to fire off World Cutting Slash. Sukuna is not going to want Gojo to fire off World Cutting Slash. But again, just to say that even if Sukuna didn't have World Cutting Slash, right? I mean, again, Sukuna is the Binding Vow Merchant. The Binding Vow Merchant, that is one of the most important things in the world. And it is said specifically to everybody that's like, oh, he wasn't able to use Divine Furnace. The manga tells us he can't use Divine Furnace. The manga specifically states that Sukuna chose to seal Divine Furnace because his domain expansion barrier conditions, one, it was easier to change the conditions over and over again, and two, it wasn't viable to use with the constant changing of conditions, with the constant domain clashing. There wasn't a real option. Sukuna would rather use Maharaga to adapt. However, let's put Sukuna in a situation where he doesn't have Maharaga. Why would he not just change Binding Vows around to make the Fire Arrow a viable option? Because despite what everybody says, sure, if he uses the Fire Arrow as he does against Jogo, probably not going to pierce Infinity. If he uses the Fire Arrow in tandem with Malevolent Shrine, it would not only go through Infinity through the guaranteed hit, it would also 110% kill Gojo without a doubt because it would erase him without a trace. The only reason Yuji survives, and I hate that everyone is like, oh, you know, the Divine Furnace wasn't able to fully kill Yuji because of Choso. Choso's blood barrier was enough to survive the Fuga. You also have to realize that Choso gave his life to protect Yuji. Choso 110% was powered by a binding vow linked to his life. That barrier that was surrounding Yuji and protecting Yuji was the strongest thing in any sense of the word of Jujutsu. Not only was it a binding vow made of Choso's last remnants of life, but it was a binding vow made from Choso's love for Yuji and made for Choso's last remaining brother. You know, his last mark as a big brother to Yuji, like being able to that is something that is more powerful than anything. You know, so I think that's very important to remember, right? I think that's very important to put out there, that we can't forget that. We can't forget that. So that's a non sequitur, saying that Choso was able to protect Yuji. I think that makes a big difference. So I think if Sukuna was able to hit Gojo with the Malevolent Shrine Divine Furnace, then that's a guaranteed hit and that's a guaranteed win. However, again, it's also very important to remember that that's a very hard thing to pull off. I'm not saying that Sukuna wouldn't be able to pull it off because he's the Binding Vow Merchant. The bro was able to fucking change his domain hand sign and use a different part of his brain to access Malevolent Shrine. Even though it came with nerfs, he was still able to do that, and then he was still able to use the Divine Furnace to buy. So I don't think that's a very hard thing to put across. I really don't. Gojo tanked Malevolent Shrine thrice. That's important, yes, but Malevolent Shrine is different than Divine Furnace. Fuga just takes too long to charge up to be effective against Gojo, I think. It just all depends on how Suguna pulls it together, right? It's the same way of how before we saw Gojo do Unlimited Hollow, we would have said the same thing. Sukuna would have said the same thing, right? Sukuna would have said the same thing about purple. He was like, hey, he has to come use red and blue. Even Gojo, after stepping out of the unlimited hollow explosion, he goes, huh, that was a first for me. I didn't even know I could really do that. He was like ad-libbing purple like that. That's a new one. I didn't realize I could do that. So I don't think that it's out of left field, especially if we're saying that even Gojo is learning and producing new chemical reactions mid-fight. I don't think it's crazy to say that Sukuna isn't capable of producing a new way of creating Fuga. In fact, as we've seen Sukuna do many times before, a lot of the things that Sukuna pulls off in not just the fight against Gojo, but in the fight of Shinjuku against all the other sorcerers are things that he literally learns from Gojo. He learns how to break his brain and then reverse curse technique his brain to um, regain his domain expansion. He also learns how to use the other side of his brain to use reverse curse technique, which is slowed, but he also does that to gain a malevolent shrine back earlier than he should, even though it has certain nerfs to it. So all of these things he learned to do are things that Gojo did earlier in the fight that Sukuna was like, huh, that's an interesting thing. Let me copy that. So I also don't think it would be out of left field to say that Mr. Binding Vow Merchant is able to change his conditions at the same pace as Gojo was every single time they were able to change their conditions. And the only reason Sukuna lost is because he was a 0.01 second off or whatever. I think I want to make it very clear that I think Sukuna could definitely at the same time ad lib Divine Furnace the same way Hollow Purple does. Are we getting into headcanon at that point? Yes. But at the end, but also at the same time, this whole entire conversation is headcanon because this didn't happen in the story, right? So we have to kind of put an idea of what makes the most sense. Go to get an outside help for his purple is a bigger advantage than a Gito. Yeah, so yeah, the 200% hollow purple was also only able to be done by Utahime and Gaku Kanji. Any purple he does outside of that is only going to be half of that power. And as Sukuna confirms, the only purple that can kill him was a point blank hollow purple, and that's exactly that's why Meguna survived. Infinity blocks Divine Flames unless it's a guaranteed hit from the domain, which is where, and again, if that guaranteed Divine Furnace hits, then it's also an instant W because Gojo would be literally wiped to smithereens. He wouldn't exist anymore. He would literally be Gonzo. So again, not that it would be very easy. Both characters are going to be at a big disadvantage for each other. Gojo starts out with the higher advantage, but as the fight goes on, he loses that advantage because Sukuna is regaining stamina on a very quick pace. So it really, in general, just becomes a battle between who can get their ultimate attack off first. And as far as it goes, Simple Domain, buddy, I mean, we literally saw the Simple Domains not hold inside of the Malevolent Shrine Divine Furnace. We literally watched that not work. But Gojo does have plenty of pros too. Like again, he's at 100% power from the start, 100% output, and he's in the zone, most likely to hit another Black Flash. He's got red, blue, and purple that are all going to hit Sukuna much harder with Sukuna's lower output and his lower durability. And again, with stamina being back to 100% with the 6 eyes, it's the same concept as before. Unless they get dragged out into a domain clash, Gojo's really not going to tire out because unless Sukuna is really doing that much damage to Gojo, he's not going to be reverse curse techniquing as much as he did before. And again, I don't think the round 2 here in this instance would be akin to very small damage. I don't think they would need reverse curse technique because it's going to be a battle of who can get the final desperation kill move off first. Gojo doesn't get domain until his next Black Flash, although with him being in the zone and already on 4 Black Flashes, also with the whole entire spiel that we get later in the story of him being the person that's most likely to hit Black Flashes, he just doesn't have a long enough fight. It's obvious that that 5th Black Flash is going to come very soon. The World Cutting Slash can and will kill him, but Gojo obviously can just dodge it. He just has to always be on the lookout for it, which is why I mean it's going to be a toss-up between can Gojo purple Sukuna first, or can Sukuna world cutting slash Gojo first? It's all going to be who catches who off guard completely. And honestly, when it comes down to purple, obviously, like both characters are going to be looking out for purple. Gojo's only going to be able to get purple off by ad libbing it again, and it's tough to say if he'll be able to do that again. That's very hard to defend against for Sukuna without having like Maharaga or Agito to help him. But I think, forearm Sukuna, that is we're getting into the weeds there. I definitely think that is a win condition. That is definitely something that Gojo has advantage of over Sukuna, that he 100% has a confirmed ad lib of his hollow purple attack in the series. Whereas, sure, we could say we could say all up and down the street, Sukuna can ad lib Divine Furnace, but there's no guaranteed confirmation of that in the series. So Gojo does have that going for him. Gojo would be able to use purple at a kind of distant range. I mean, you could definitely argue that, but also with Sukuna being very fast, the further Sukuna is from Gojo using purple, the easier it's going to be for Sukuna to just dodge it. Sukuna would have to rely on Domain or Domain Input bypass Infinity to even touch Gojo. Gojo versus Sukuna with no Megami, I think Gojo 100% wins. More Arsenal and his hits would affect Sukuna. 51 isn't a feat for Gojo. Agito was no threat. Sukuna only summoned it because he was severely weakened from taking lethal blows. It was supplement to distract Gojo from Sukuna's true goal. The thing is just to get off on a side tangent here with that, like, I hate the idea that people use Agito and Maharaga as like Sukuna's a fraud. He needed help. He was literally 3v1ing Gojo and he still lost. Like, when does the 10 Shadows technique stop becoming a curse technique, and when does it become someone calling in for backup, right? I know Maharaga is a severely powerful, Shikigami to the point that he can be considered his own kind of character, but the 10 Shadows technique is the 10 Shadows technique. If is the argument that you think Sukuna should not have used the power that he had at his disposal? Like, is that the argument that we're making, that Sukuna should have been strong enough to not use his curse technique at 100% potential, even though Gojo was clearly using his curse technique at 100% potential? So I don't understand this whole idea that, like, Sukuna needed help. Like, Sukuna was just using his curse technique that he had. And again, Sukuna definitely, we went through this already in pretty much the whole stream, but I've went over multiple reasons as to why Sukuna does not need the 10 Shadows technique to win. Again, the World Cutting Slash does not take that long to fire off. If with a little bit of strategy, he needs just as much strategy as Gojo does to ad-lib the Hollow Purple to get World Cutting Slash off. He's also got Divine Furnace with inside of the domain, which is a guaranteed hit that would go through Limitless. And also, Sukuna has Domain Amplification and can literally swap effortlessly between Domain Amplification and regular curse technique. So I think Sukuna has plenty of things that can pierce Limitless. I think getting bogged down on the Maharaga thing is unnecessary. Can Meguna fuse his Domain and Megamis? I wish he could. That really would have been super cool. That genuinely would have been super duper cool if he could have. I would have loved to have seen Chimera Shadow Garden Megami. Chimera Shadow Garden Sukuna, especially because, technically speaking, we never got the full Chimera Shadow Garden power, Let's see. I'm just reading chat. I know a bunch of people are just saying the same thing over and over again, that he just wouldn't win. Nah, he needed Maharaga. That's not really much of an argument. I already talked about all of that stuff already. Sukuna is the only person to ever tame Maharaga, undoubtedly the best 10 Shadows user. 110% the best 10 Shadows user, which is sad that he had to stunt on Megami with his own technique, but yeah. But generally speaking, Domain Amplification, even without the use of his Domain Expansion, is an easy way for Sukuna to still throw hands and beat through Limitless. He can still dull damage done from Gojo's reds and blues, as he does earlier with Meguna when he tanks the red. He just tanks the attack. Sure, Gojo does have purple, but it can just be and it can be ad-libbed like the previous Unlimited Hollow, which Sukuna definitely has to look out for. But Sukuna has World Cutting Slash, which does require hand signs, chance, and targeting, but and also honestly luck because catching Gojo off guard is going to be one of the toughest things in the world. He really got a 1 in a million opportunity in that last one, but it's still something that he can still work towards. And also Divine Furnace, which with Malevolent Shrine and proper binding value usage could definitely work against Gojo. How many Goodwill event Gojos would it take to defeat True Form Sukuna? How many chucks could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? None of y'all are the creator. Having a hypothetical argument on something you don't know it would play out is comical. What if plot says Gojo wins and does? Well, the plot would never say that Gojo wins and does because that wouldn't narratively make sense. Because a lot of times we can just talk about things because they're fun to talk about. That's the best part about everything because it's all just fun. Couldn't Sukuna change the guaranteed hits of his domain to world-cutting slashes via binding vows? He already changed the conditions prior in the fight. I don't know if he'd be able to change the guaranteed hit like Yuta can. That is something I wouldn't want to get. That is way too much like headcanon personally. I mean, could he do it? Maybe, but I don't want to do that. Andy Matrix, I see what you're saying. I really don't know. I really don't know what. I understand it's not a feat for Gojo. I hear you. I hear what you're saying. Gojo knew about Raga, but didn't know about open domains. Should have done homework. But no, he lazy. He said he lazy. Gojo should have never been in the story from the start. Nah, I like Gojo's inclusion in the story. He was fun. He was a fun character. I like overpowered characters in the stories. They make things interesting. I liked having to watch Gege have to come up with different ways to keep Gojo out of the story. That was kind of fun. But again, to all the people that are like, Gojo would just unlimited void Sukuna, I think if Gojo goes the domain expansion route and Sukuna hollow wicker baskets and is able to get inside of unlimited void and Sukuna is just hollow wicker basketing and Sukuna's fighting Gojo inside unlimited void, I think Sukuna is going to have the superior hands in that case. I 110% think that with Hollow Wicker Basket going on, and while he's also got full use of his curse technique, Dismantle, Cleave, he's got another set of hands, he's got Chance, Domain Amplification also works inside the domain, so Sukuna can just pierce through the Limitless and also just do damage to Gojo in close quarters. And if Sukuna survives an unlimited void domain expansion, Gojo is either going to need to break his brain again, which is, again, a coin flip. And if he coin flips wrong, he's not going to be able to domain again. Or potentially worse, die. Or 3, if he chooses to not break his brain, not take the chance, and has to fight by cooldown, then Infinity is down, and then Sukuna can fight Gojo without Infinity. Again, I think Gojo's only chance is doing another ad-libbed Unlimited Hollow, but, Sukuna is going to be looking out for that. If Sukuna is able to last long enough in the fight to get Black Flashes, to regain Reverse Curse Technique, or worse, regain Domain Expansion, Fire Arrow, again, combined with Malevolent Shrine, can break through Infinity. So, yikes. As long as Sukuna catches Gojo in a barrier, it's possible. Would you read a one-shot about Sukuna in the Heian era? So, funnily enough, I actually did, after we talked about this last time, and I did actually rough draft 3 parts to a Heian era Sukuna backstory. I would just have to dedicate more time to it and literally just proofread it and draft it out completely. But it would be split into 3 parts. It would be part 1 would be child Sukuna, part 2 would be teenage Sukuna, and then part 3 would be Sukuna versus the 5 Void Generals. So I did rough draft all of that. So I would just have to proofread that, put that together, and I don't know how I would put that together in would I put that together in a video form? Would that be weird? Would people watch that? Would people watch just a Sukuna story through video form? Or would I have to contact an artist and get that drawn into a Jujutsu no Kaisen situation? That would be weird. I don't know how I would do that, but the story is, like I said, fully rough drafted. I know where I want to take it. I would just have to, proofread that shit, put that together completely. Said hi, what up? Gojo only won the third clash because of a technicality. Gojo was playing with his food. Wattpad? I wouldn't want to do Wattpad. Fuck that. I wouldn't want to do Wattpad. Didn't Gojo lose the first two clashes because he didn't use basketball domain? Yeah. I like how people don't realize Gojo was also spamming binding vows to change his domain conditions. Yeah, Gojo was also a binding vow merchant, 110%. Gojo was literally able to ad lib purple. I think that's a really big point. I think that's really important to mention. I think it's also really important to mention that if you haven't already, please hit that like button. It helps the stream more than you know. But I did summon on the Sukuna banner. I do have Sukuna, and I'm like 2 polls away from pity duping Sukuna 2 as well. If he starts off with knowledge of an open domain, it just takes unlimited void landing once to knock Sukuna out. That is definitely true, Jesse. 110%. Gojo definitely does have win conditions. Just reading chat. You can come up with 5 curse techniques for the generals. Be careful. Oh, I already did it. Do you guys want to? Do you guys? Should I reveal it? I don't know if I should reveal those circumstances. I have them on my notes in my phone, and I can't leave the stream. I can't leave this window on my phone, so I wouldn't be able to reveal it. But like I said, I've already got it all written out. I already have the whole fight written out. It was a lot of fun to write that fight. I had so much fun writing that, and I think going over it again and proofreading it. I think there's still other parts of the fight that I want to add, and other parts of the fight that I want to change up, but that's going to be the best part about it. But I'll have to wait. Everyone, it'll have to be patient. If I do come out with it, it'll still come out in parts. It's important for it to come out in parts. How strong would every disaster curse be if they got an awakening like Mahito? Dude, I would love the left corner of my lip. That's just light, dude. There's nothing here. I know. It looks so bad. Trust me, Crimson Breaker. I know exactly what you're talking about because it shows up in every fucking video that I record, and it's not. It's literally not. I know exactly what you're talking about. But that it's just the light reflecting off. I got like a shiny corner. I got like a shiny corner lip. I don't know why. I don't know why it's like that. But I know exactly what you're talking about. It looks like I got a. It looks like I got a little. Looks like I got a little fucking. A fun stain. If you get what I'm saying on my lip. But nope. It's just the sunlight reflecting off my beautiful, beautiful, beautiful lips. Izakaizen, thank you for the dono. 20 big ones. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Gojo wins because we don't like Sukuna. I think one of the worst things about all of this is that I love Gojo. I think Gojo is such a fun character. Like, I genuinely do really, really, really like Gojo as a character. I think he's a fun, overpowered character. I like his personality. Honestly, when it comes down to it, Gojo and Mahito personality-wise are like some of the most fun kind of characters that I enjoy. Like, I'm a big Bachira Megaru fan. If you're a Blue Lock, stan, if you know what I'm talking about. Like, I do genuinely love like that kind of personality, the overpowered, cocky, funny, doesn't take much seriously character, but is able to get seriously if they need to. And a lot of people think that I hate Gojo, or they're like, "Damn, you must hate Gojo. You're number one Sukuna Glazer." No, not really. I just like to go based off of what I know and what I interpret from the story. If I'm wrong, I'm more than willing to be wrong. But that's why, also, not for nothing, before I even did the stream, I went through this. I went through all of Gojo vs Sukuna and the Shinjuku Showdown again, took notes and everything before even going on the stream, just to make sure that I wasn't making a fool of myself. I want to make sure I've got all the information here. But yeah, I think the Awakened Disaster Curses could be very fucking powerful. Like, I would love to see. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, if you guys are Bleach fans, but Bleach has and Bleach, is it Brave Souls or Bleach? There's one game, and it's a gacha. It's a Bleach gacha game, and Bleach specifically added second resurrections for the Espada. I would love to see that for like Hanami, Jogo, and Dagon. If like for Phantom Parade Gotcha, they got like special full power secondary transformations or something. That and you start getting that OG canon characters in Jujutsu Kaisen, that would be fire. I would love that. We're talking Teen Gojo versus Mahito. Teen Gojo is definitely not going to be able to do shit against Mahito. I don't think Teen Gojo is going to do much, especially when you consider that Teen Gojo doesn't have the automatic detection and Teen Gojo doesn't have domain expansion. Teen Gojo's Limitless is not fucking like forever, so he can run out of cursed energy. And Mahito also can just domain and win. That's it. And Mahito just needs the self embodiment of perfection, and Gojo has literally no way to counter that. What? How is Gojo going to counter that? Falling Blossom Emotion? What's Falling Blossom Emotion doing against self embodiment of perfection? Even if you want to argue, oh, he probably has simple domain at that point. That's not lasting long. That's not lasting long at all. I'm telling you, it's not. What would be the cooldown on Hollow Purple for Teen? That's a good question. I don't know. Maybe Awaken, even Awakened Teen Gojo. I don't think is winning that without a domain. I don't think Teen Gojo without a domain is winning. Hot take: Teen Gojo loses to any character with a domain expansion. I don't know. I don't know if I would co-sign that, but that's probably pretty likely. Izakazen, thank you for the dono. Thank you for the 10. Mahito versus Jogo versus Kurorushi. I mean, like Kurorushi is another disaster curse level special grade. Like that genuinely is one of my favorite special grade curse spirits that we got in the culling game. And like for anyone that's like, oh, we didn't get any good curse spirits, I missed the curse spirits. We got Kurorushi's right there. Yes, it would have been nice to get more curse spirits, but Kurorushi is a really cool curse spirit, the cockroach curse spirit, and he's deadly as hell. Obviously, Jogo would have the advantage against Kurorushi because Jogo is just Mr. Fire. Jogo would just burn all of the cockroaches and Kurorushi, but Kurorushi's strong as hell. Kurorushi handles takes down a lot of end of series Jujutsu sorcerers, which is fucking ridiculous. Kurorushi is just missing a domain. That's literally the only thing that Kurorushi is missing. If Kurorushi had a domain, he like it would be indomitable. It would actually be insane. But Jogo obviously clears that, one because he has the domain, but two because he's fire. He counters that. Mahito versus Jogo is honestly a really fun and interesting dynamic because I think Jogo has the advantage against Mahito because Jogo's fire is just able to burn Mahito's flesh-based attacks. Like literally, if you think about it, Mahito is just all made of flesh, just all made of just skin and just human body parts. So Jogo has a significant advantage over Mahito that way. Jogo can keep his distance, fight from afar, use a big area of effect attacks to just continually wear Mahito down. And sure, he might not, you could argue Jogo can't attack the soul. Jogo can't attack the soul. If Jogo continually just wears Mahito down and continually burns Mahito till there's nothing left, Mahito can, for all intents and purposes, just run out of curse energy and die. Now, obviously, when it comes down to domain clashes, Mahito does have the better domain clash because Mahito does have the 0.2 domain expansion. Mahito is just able to activate domain and activate his guaranteed hit way faster than Jogo would be able to activate his and get his off the clash with it. So I think in a clash of domains, Mahito is definitely end all be all the winner of that fight. But I think if you take domain expansion out of the fray, then it is just then Jogo does have the advantage in regular combat. But it's interesting how domains can sometimes change the entire trajectory of the fight. Domains really do make a humongous difference sometimes. Could Gojo just spam blue to keep them in place and just nuke them with purples and reds? Also, with the losses to any domain, what about the judge guy? Does Teen Gojo have any kills and would he win? I mean, the thing is like Teen Gojo isn't as efficient with using his cursed energy. He doesn't really run out as easily, and it's still a very effective ability. It's just Teen Gojo just isn't as infallible. as adult Gojo is. Adult Gojo is pretty much like infinite cursed energy, demon god, fucking untouchable, fucking, monster. Whereas Teen Gojo has weaknesses. Teen Gojo can run out of cursed energy over time. Could Teen Gojo beat Higuruma? Probably. Higuruma doesn't really have much combat experience whatsoever. Higuruma's domain expansion also doesn't kill either. Higuruma's domain expansion, I mean, Higuruma's domain expansion could confiscate um the Limitless from Gojo, and I still think Gojo Six Eyes No Limitless would mollywop Higuruma into next Tuesday. Higuruma, after a couple years of experience, 110% is going to be a significant threat when it comes to sorcerer battle. But I still think Teen Gojo with just the Six Eyes is fucking left right good nighting Higuruma. To be said, it's not an easy fight because Higuruma was still throwing hands with fucking Yuji of all time. Higuruma can't bypass Infinity. Well, we're talking about Higuruma getting his domain off on Teen Gojo. And that's also, you'd have to argue, does Teen Gojo have a crime that you'd be able to find him with? But just not even including that, let's give Higuruma the generosity of saying that the domain expansion works. It finds Gojo guilty, and it's confiscation. And it's just confiscation. It's not death penalty. Even if it was death penalty. I think Teen Gojo, I mean, again, you got to give it to Higuruma. I might be misremembering, but I thought he can't fight in his domain. Well, right, but I'm saying Higuruma steals Gojo's curse technique, and then after the domain they continue to fight. But let's not get bogged down on that too much. Thank you for the 5. Izakaizen, y'all, would you say Teen Gojo was already special grade before his awakening against Toji? Yes. I would 100% say that. I will always fight that to the absolute ends of the earth. Gojo and Geto were special grade before Toji. I know everyone likes to show that one panel of like Gojo comparing himself to a grade 1 sorcerer, but that is all just power level. I think Geto just considers himself at around the physical level of like at around the curse energy level of a grade 1 at this point in his teen years, because that the argument doesn't make any sense that Teen Geto wasn't special grade, because you don't get promoted to special grade. Teen Geto was special grade the moment he was deemed to have cursed spirit manipulation. It's just not the case. The whole grade 1 thing doesn't work, because why would Jujutsu High's grading system determine what level of curse that Geto could absorb? That doesn't even make sense. So people are like, oh, Geto was grade 1 and then he got promoted to special grade after Toji. Why would that determine the level of curse that curse spirit manipulation is able to absorb? That doesn't even make sense. It's just because Geto considered himself at that level at that time. He considered himself at the level of being able to, of being a grade 1 sorcerer, absorbing 2 grades above. He's just realistic. He's realistic about himself. But Gojo and Geto were always special grade sorcerers from the very beginning. Yeah, in terms of power, Teen Geto, I mean, even in terms of power, I would argue you could still say Teen Geto's a special grade curse. I don't like the idea that Geto only becomes special grade power wise after he gets adult Geto. Teen Geto, it all just depends on how many curse spirits he has, right? Sure, is Geto himself a more formidable threat without his curses as he ages and gets older? 110%. So is Gojo. But at the same time, Geto was still able to, make a cursed army of 8,000 cursed spirits as a teen and take on Kyoto and Shinjuku at the same time if he wanted to. I mean, would he be less successful in it? Yeah, 100%. But he still had the special grade level. It's the same thing with Yaga. Yaga was considered a special grade sorcerer, and he got fucking beat by Gaku fucking Kanji. So it all comes down to, you can be special grade and still be relatively. It's the same thing why Yuta was special grade, and Yuta hadn't even seen a curse spirit yet in Jujutsu Kaisen 0, right? Are you going to acknowledge what you said about the fire arrow in Gojo vs. Sukuna? What did I say about the fire arrow in Gojo vs. Sukuna? We talked a lot about the Divine Furnace and why the Divine Furnace is still a viable option against Gojo if it was forearm versus Gojo. definitely still a viable option. I feel like um, it makes sense. You just have it just comes down to ad libbing, same way Gojo did. Jogo versus end of series Choso, is Choso a domain victim? Yes. Jogo versus end of series end of series Choso still loses to Jogo, without a doubt. It's not that Sukuna said that it didn't work. It's just that Sukuna chose to seal it because it wouldn't have been sufficient enough firepower to do enough damage. So it just wasn't a viable option at the time. But I still think Sukuna, if Sukuna did not have Maharaga and he was forced to rely on what he had at his disposal besides Maharaga, I think that he would have just binding vowed and found a way to make it work. You can definitely go back to the chapter. It says specifically that he purposely chose to seal it because it just wasn't a viable option. It was lacking firepower with the way that he needed to with the way that he needed to constantly change his domain conditions and everything like that. Izakaizen, thank you for the dono again. Y'all, if you could remove one statement, power scale, etc., from the JJK manga, what would it be? I don't know, because I think most of Jujutsu Kaisen, despite what everybody says, it kind of holds up. I really don't think there is that much anomalies or things that are retcons or things that go against the series itself. What up, Iron Eyes? It has been a minute. Hope you're doing well. Happy to see you. I'm completely okay with the Mach 3. I think the Mach 3 genuinely makes sense if you think about it. I don't think Mach 3 is bad at all. Because if realistically, if you think about it, for all of the research and all of the power scaling videos that I've done for Jujutsu Kaisen, in the Shibuya incident, when Choso is firing Piercing Blood is said to move at or around the speed of sound. So if you argue that Shibuya level incident characters are about the speed of sound, and Maki is one of the fastest characters in that entire series still, right? Because Maki is still one of the fastest characters as well as Yuji. Yuji's able to move faster than the speed of sound. So Yuji being around Mach 2.5, Mach 3 makes sense. Maki being able to catch the bullet would require her to be around Mach 5, Mach 6. We talked a lot about Ezekiel. We talked a lot about Gojo versus Sukuna. We can get back to that. We're just kind of in the weeds a little bit. It's about an hour and 16 minutes into the stream, so we did talk about Gojo versus Sukuna a lot for the last hour. So I'm kind of just answering chat right now, but we can get back into it soon. Excuse me. And then you've got, like I said, Maki catching the bullet would be Mach 5, Mach 6. So you figure she's still the fastest person in the series in this moment. And Jogo is about faster than her, give or take, right around there. So all of these characters, Jogo's also about, Yuji's speed, even faster than Yuji, because Jogo in the chapter extra mentions that Jogo would never let Yuji hit him. So if you're going to argue that Jogo is faster than Maki in Shibuya incident, again, Mach 5, Mach 6, you're still tracking. The fastest characters in the series right now are about Mach 5, Mach 6. Same with Maki being faster than Cursed Spirit Naoya. Now, where the series gets a little weird is when you include Kashimo, and that's where it really gets kind of confusing. I mean, even Captain America isn't even really that fast in the grand scheme of things, right? If you really consider it, like even because I did that Toji versus Marvel video, that's lost. That's lost content at this point. That's a deleted video. That video is not even available on the channel anymore, I think. But when me and DJ Miles did that, we found that Captain America really isn't even that fast. Captain America is like barely bullet speed, if not a little bit faster than bullet speed. If there was a free-for-all with grade 1s only, who do you think would come out on top? Probably. I mean, are we giving Toto the Vibra Slap? Because if we're giving Toto the Vibra Slap, Toto might be the strongest motherfucker this side of the fucking Mason-Dixon at this point. Do you think Angel could have chosen Yuji as a vessel to combat Sukuna, or who could have been the perfect vessel for Angel? Yo, your lawyer, I'm telling you, when the series was first going on, I don't know if any of you guys were in the community or in the stream for this back when Angel had just gotten chomped, and we were waiting and for to see what would happen after all of this. That was my 110% biggest theory, was that now that Sukuna was outside of Yuji, Angel was going to leave Hanakarusu because her body was cooked, and Angel was going to go into Itadori. And I still, to this day, think that would have been one of the coolest fucking things um, for the story to do. Genuinely, I don't care what anybody says. I still think that would have been a very cool plot point. I would have loved to have seen where that went, because not only would that have made Angel feel way more relevant, right? We could have gotten a lot more information on the Heian era through Yuji and Angel coming together, and Angel, conjoining her soul to Yuji. Yuji could have accessed Angel's memories. We could have gotten a short little preview of, the Heian era. And like, not for nothing, again, like, imagine Yuji using Jacob's ladder as well as the soul dismantle. Like, I like the soul dismantle. The soul dismantle is completely fine, 110%. But genuinely, I think Jacob's ladder and imbuing Jacob's ladder, the cursed extinguishing, into Yuji's fists and punches would have been, like, again, such a cool thing, and it would have given Angel more relevancy in the story. So I'm okay with the way that everything went, but I think Angel using Yuji as a vessel and moving would have been cool. Obviously, the manga specifically goes against this, because right after Angel gets healed, Yuta says, "Hey, can't you just move to a different one of us?" And Angel's like, "No, I can't do that. Once I'm in this body, I can't change." So I know the story gives a reason why it can't happen. But like I said, I still think it would have been very cool. I still think it would have been a very cool way to see the story go. Izakaizen, thank you for the 5. Thank you for all the donos, Izakaizen. Thank you so much for the love, and thank you so much for the appreciation. I genuinely do appreciate it. Again, everyone, if you don't want to hit the like button for me, hit that like button for Izakaizen. Hit those like buttons. I know it's weird on the vertical streams, but I think if you scroll down or you hit the side button, there's a way to like it. But yeah, hit that like button for Izakaizen, all the support that he's been showing. Thank you so much, seriously. With the Aizen profile pic too, I just caught that. Y'all, do you think there were any Heian sorcerers that were Yuta level or even stronger? It's tough to say that we just don't know enough about the Heian era, but I have to imagine that the 5 Void Generals were all relatively powerful. Yorozu is only about 15 finger Sukuna level, and she was able to beat the 5 Void Generals on her own. But I also think, Yorozu versus Yuta would have been, a pretty tough fight. I still think Yuta would probably beat Yorozu, but Yorozu would have given Yuta a problem just as much as Oro or Ishigori, if not more so, right? I think when it comes down to it, the 5 Void Generals were all pretty powerful. Again, I'm biased because when I think of the 5 Void Generals, like I said earlier, I think of the fan fiction 5 Void Generals that I made for my Heian era Sukuna thing. So like when I think of the 5 Void Generals, I'm like, damn, yeah, they're pretty fucking strong. But like I'm literally thinking of like my own characters. I'm not thinking of the actual 5 Void Generals there. So don't ask me that question. I'm fucking biased as hell. Can you build a team using 5 grade 1s that could beat Yuta Okotsu with a month of prep time? Well, I mean, if we're giving me access to end of series Yuji, end of series Megami, and like you're talking like, I mean, can I pick people that are dead? Like, am I able to pick Nanami and shit like that? Because I could probably come up with a team that could cook Yuta, to be honest with you. Kenjaku was around before then. Yeah, Kenjaku predates the Heian era. Kenjaku is actually from the Nara area, which is, I think, one of the biggest fucking misses in Jujutsu Kaisen as a whole in the entire plot is the Nara era. Because if you look in the history of Japan, right, the Heian era is, a very big era in history, and a lot of, anime and manga use that as like a big time in like, back in the day. But before the Heian era is the Nara area, the Nara period. And if you remember specifically in Hidden Inventory, the cult of the star religion, they specifically um, date their origins of their religion to the Nara period. And because they found Tengen, they worship Tengen, and they don't want Tengen to, continually cycle through humans. They want Tengen to evolve, everything like that. They specifically, date themselves back to the Nara period, which is supposedly when Tengen came to Japan and introduced Japan to sorcery, everything like that. That happened in the Nara period. So, and it's interesting because right after the Nara period, when Tengen supposedly came to Japan, introduced the concept of sorcery and jujutsu to everybody, then came the Heian era right after the Nara period, if you look at Japanese history. So it's always been interesting to me, and it's always been a fun thing that if you look through, if you know Japanese history and you get those subtle hints, you can literally see that Tengen brought Jujutsu to Japan in the Nara period, and then right after Tengen brought Jujutsu to Japan, it brought about the bloodiest era of Jujutsu, the golden peak of Jujutsu. So, and so it's interesting, which also we know that Tengen and Kenjaku knew each other from the very beginning. And a lot of people, at least me specifically, a lot of people make interesting parallels to Full Metal Alchemist, right? Where you had Van Hohenheim, and then you had Father, who had the two separate versions of alchemy, and then they went to the West and the East, and they created their own kinds of alchemy and taught that out. A lot of people make that parallel to Kenjaku and Tengen, even though unfortunately we don't, and we may never know what their origins and what their relationship actually was. A lot of people can see that parallel where, Tengen came to the Nara period and brought Jujutsu. Kenjaku could have been, that other side. Obviously, Kenjaku was still teaching Jujutsu. He wasn't teaching any kind of different form than Tengen was. Whereas you could argue that Tengen was like the barrier form, and then, Kenjaku was the attack, the technique form. Either way, it's interesting that with Tengen and Kenjaku having that kind of relationship, it's possible that Kenjaku could predate the Heian era, could literally be of the Nara period. Maybe Tengen and Kenjaku were partners, and then they split apart. We really have no idea what Kenjaku and Tengen's relationship is, and I don't know if we'll ever get that information. Maybe Gege will give that to us in the data book or something, but that is something that I think is wholeheartedly a big miss, is we really never got that information. I feel like that was very important. Kenjaku was likely teaching Jujutsu for more malicious purposes, 110%. What up, Coconut, by the way? What up, Coconut, by the way? Izakaizen, thank you again for the dono, the big dono. Thank you so much for the love. I sincerely do. It really does help. Sincerely, all the donos really help the channel way more than you know. It helps me make way more content. It helps me continually do streams like this. It really does make a big difference. So genuinely, I do really appreciate it, and your money really does go to making the content better. And being able to sit here and yap to you guys about this, and being able to spend my morning rereading Shinjuku Showdown and going through all the source material, gaining evidence, writing everything down into notes, and being able to put everything together. I would not be able to do that without you guys supporting me, donating, and doing everything that you guys do. Joining as a member, supporting the Jogo Gang. And remember, if you are a member, please join the Discord. Please join the Discord. I really, you guys all mentioned how much you love the community and everything like that in the streams. If you want that community to continue, and you want to be, and you want to take it outside of the YouTube streams, definitely don't be scared. Join the Discord. And if you are not a member, you can join the Jogo Gang for only $1, and that will get you access to the Discord. It's only $1 for the first month. You join the Discord. You never have to pay again. You never have to pay again. You say fuck that guy, fuck him, and just fucking charge your card back. God damn it, charge that card back. Get it back. Let Google figure out how to get that money back for me. That's not your problem. Your bank sends you that shit back. I'm just kidding. But yeah, if you can't donate, obviously I understand. I'm not asking for money. I genuinely just do appreciate you guys hanging out with me and hanging out on stream. It means the world to me, just the fact that you guys would spend time even just sitting here, chatting with me, talking about Gojo, talking about Sukuna, and just going back and forth with this. I do love and appreciate every single one of you guys. Just you guys being here and spending a second of your day watching, means the world to me. Whether you're donating, you're watching, you're lurking, you're not even in chat. I love you. I appreciate you, and I'm sending you that spirit bomb energy. That was a long tangent. I apologize. Izakaizen, thank you again for the dono, by the way. That was a long thank you. But yeah, I gotta ask y'all, what was your favorite JJK ship and why? I'm not a big ship person personally. But the most obvious and canon ship that I think makes the most sense. If I had to think, I'm trying to think. I think Utahime and Gojo definitely had some will they won't they going on. Um, I think I think that was a love lost situation. Genji, thank you. I love you too. Gojo and Geto, yo, honestly, you know what? Gojo and Geto. The thing is like as someone that loves their motherfucking boys, like I understand the love. I understand it. You know what? Like if you want to say that Gojo and Geto are gay for each other, you know fucking what? It makes fucking sense, bro. They are pretty fucking gay for each other. But does that make them gay? No, not always. You know what? You know what? It is what it is. Whatever you want to see. If I see a beautiful and budding bromance, if you want to see them, that they loved each other, I honestly, that's fine. It honestly, I wouldn't even hold you for believing that the way that shit is framed by Gege. I wouldn't even hold you for that shit. Holy shit, Izakaizen. Oh my god. The oh, oh my god, the $100 dono. Thank you so much. I simply like your funny words, Magic Man. Izakaizen, thank you so much for the love and support. Genuinely, really, like I can't thank you enough. It really that is awesome. Thank you so much. That means the world to me. It really does. Thank you. To break up in front of the KFC was brutal. I still to this day don't know why they had to do that. Yo boy Plank, thank you so much for dropping in and saying hi again. I honestly, Plank, I love when you just pop in and say hi. You know what? You can just leave and you can just come and leave anytime you want. Doors always open. I'd prefer if you stayed, but I love to watch you go. I'm just kidding. I don't know what the fuck I'm even saying at this point. I don't even know what the fuck I'm saying at this point. The KFC was crazy that they animated that shit. The KFC was crazy that they animated that shit. What up? Everyone saying hi. How we doing? How we doing? Do I think Gojo can survive a nuke if he is aware that the nuke is coming? Yes. If he knows the nuke is coming and it hits him, yeah, I believe as long as I definitely believe the Limitless can go, full on, slow everything down. Who want to hear? I want to hear your hot take, Genji. I always want to say your hot take. I'm sorry I missed it before. He'd know it's coming with the six eyes. Well, there you go. I leave you with this thought. Was Kenjaku the lion or was it Sukuna? I think Kenjaku was the lion. I think, well, you know what? Sukuna was definitely a lion too, but I think Kenjaku definitely was the. If we're talking Game of Thrones scenario, we're talking Kenjaku was the one. Fucking the Lannisters send their regards type shit. You know what I mean? Personally. I definitely think Yuta Okotsu is the strongest sorcerer now as well. I definitely think Yuta is the strongest sorcerer as well. I don't understand this narrative of people believing that Yuji can beat Yuta personally. I don't see it. I just don't see it. I think Yuji is very strong now. End of series. I don't know how he's beating Yuta. I feel like a lot of people just forget that Yuta also has Rika with him. It's never a 1v1 against Yuta. It's always a 2v1. And sure, I bring this up all the time, and everybody's like, "Oh, blah, blah, blah. Like that's Shibuya Yuji. It's completely different." Okay, but like how different? Like Rika literally grabbed Yuji, and Yuji was not able to break out of Rika's grip. You know, like literally couldn't even move. Could you argue that Shinjuku Yuji is much stronger now? Yeah, I would definitely argue that. I still don't think that refutes my point that Rika is fucking strong. Easy cousin, thank you for the dono again, brother. Thank you so much again for the dono. Y'all, do you think Hikari can heal soul damage with his auto RCT? No. I don't think Hikari can heal soul damage with his auto RCT at all, and I think that's Hikari's one downside. And I also think that's why Maki is able to beat Hikari. I don't think that's a controversial opinion anymore. What's so funny? Something that I've also noticed being a part of the Jujutsu Kaisen community for this long. Things that were controversial back in the day aren't really controversial anymore. Did you notice that Hikari really has lost so much aura since not doing anything against Arame that like back in the day, like if you went back in time a year ago, saying Yuta was stronger than Hikari was like a sin. Saying Yuta was stronger than Hikari was like how dare you? What the fuck is wrong with you to think that obviously Yuta said Hikari is stronger. You missed that panel, right? But like now, if you say that, like, hey, you know what? Like, remember when Hikari was stronger? When people thought Hikari was stronger than Yuta, people were like, no, that never happened. No, what are you talking about? I get that all the time on the shorts that I make, where like I'll be like, yeah, this was a controversial thing. People are like, no one's ever said that. I'm like, huh? People used to always say that. Yeah, now Hikari's Yuji victim, right? Back in the day, that was like saying that would get you cooked. Saying that Yuji would fucking beat Hikari. People were like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Now that the manga's finished, there's no more room for speculation. Yeah, exactly. Remember, people were highly speculating the 777 jackpot. People were like, "Yo, Hikari's got the second form of jackpot that we haven't seen yet, bro. He's got that 777. You guys don't even know it yet, despite having no reason to ever believe that was a thing." I got end of series Yuji beating Maki and Toji. I don't know about that. I think Maki and Yuji are probably as close of a matchup as you could probably possibly ever get. But I personally would put Maki over Yuji, in my honest opinion. I think Maki has higher stats. Yuji kind of hard counters Maki. Maybe I'm wrong here. Why does Yuji hard counter Maki? My first instinct is to put Maki over Yuji any day. Maki got defeated by one-armed Sukuna. I guess, but like also like that's because Yuji. I see what you're saying. I guess it just depends on how much you think the soul split katana and like damaging the soul, and how we saw how struggling it was for Sukuna to heal his soul, even though he could do it. We saw how hard it was for him to do it and also keep up with his output. So even though the Soul Split Katana is damage that Yuji would be able to heal, I think it is a tremendously difficult thing for Yuji to do, on top of the fact that Yuji's already kind of, not the best with the reverse curse technique as it is, because he just learned how it is. He can protect his soul from Soul Split Katana, and Maki can't really heal if Yuji lands Black Flash. Yeah, I guess that's fair. Maki doesn't really have good healing against Yuji. Also, the thing that I really think goes into Maki's favor is I think Maki is definitely a little bit faster when it comes to combat and reaction time and speed. And sure, we could go all day up and down about how Yuji can heal the soul and Yuji might be able to defend against the Soul Split Katana. But at the same time, if Maki decapitates Yuji, that's kind of tough for Yuji to reverse curse technique heal. But I do see what you're saying. Blood manipulation's poison, yes. However, the thing with Yuji's blood manipulation is like Yuji's really only able to use blood manipulation if his blood gets on Maki, or Yuji starts whipping his blood around everywhere and then makes the blood burst and boil, because Yuji still doesn't know how to use convergence, right? Sure, you could argue that Yuji will learn how to get convergence, but at the end of the day, it's not going to happen. Again, I promise you, it looks like I have whatever. It's the light, goddamn it. I need to. It's the goddamn light. I'm telling you, man. It's the light in this fucking room. You see? Nothing here. I promise you. Isakaizen, thank you for the 5. Y'all, do you think the 10 Shadows was used at its peak against Gojo, or do you think Meguna was underwhelming using it? No, I think Meguna was 100%. Uh, I would have loved, I would have liked to have seen Meguna use the 10 Shadows a little bit more against Gojo, but also at the same time, I think that's what we kind of had Yorozu for, if you really think about it. That's what we kind of had Yorozu for. Yorozu was specifically so we could see Sukuna use the 10 Shadows to its highest, capacity. And then we got Gojo versus Sukuna. Who would win, Yuji or Toji? I think again. When you say Yuji versus Toji, my mind immediately goes to Toji. I get back and you're showing us your mouth. What happened since I left, bro? Yeah, you missed you missed a lot. I'll tell you that. I'll definitely tell you that. You definitely missed a lot. I think you could use shadow clones outside the domain and then give them the abilities of specific Shikigami, like one with water powers and another clone with lightning. That would be wild. That would be wild if Megami actually gets access to just using shadow clones outside of Chimera Shadow Garden. I mean, just the fact that Sukuna was able to use like Max Elephant's water cannon without summoning Max Elephant, that was a big upgrade to 10 Shadows. Could Yuta copy Hikari's jackpot? I don't see why he wouldn't be able to. I don't see why he wouldn't be able to at all. I'm so glad I ran into the stream before deciding to be productive because this is so chill. I completely agree. Generally speaking, I like the vertical streams. The vertical streams are fun. The vertical streams are a good way, and it's also easier for me to engage with you guys. There's less there's less shit all going around and everything. Kashimo versus Toji op. That's a close fight. I think Kashimo, when it comes to hand, we have to remember does have an advantage because he has the electrified hits. So every time he strikes Toji or Maki, he's like electrifying them and shocking them. So he's sending out another layer of damage, and also potentially stunning them. But Soul Split Katana is, an unhealable wound for Kashimo. If Kashimo gets his arms chopped off, those arms aren't coming. Not that Kashimo can reverse curse technique anyway. If we're not including Mythical Beast Amber, my money is on Toji and Maki. If we do include Mythical Beast Amber, I would probably say Kashimo wins. But again, that's if Kashimo uses MBA. If Kashimo doesn't use his curse technique, I think Toji would probably win. Yuta versus Kenjaku. Let me get into that. Let me thank the dono. Thank you, PDN PD Nonos. I don't know what that is. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it. PDD knows. I'm terrible. I apologize. I know this isn't a JJK question, but I'm curious. With more chapters haven't come out, will you do another Sakamono Days random matchup video? I do want to do more content like that, genuinely speaking. The thing is, when it comes to that, it just takes a lot. It's just tough to plan that out with the other streams. But now that I know that you want that, I will pencil that in to come a lot sooner, right? That if that makes sense, I will 110%. Now that I know that you want that, I will put that on my list of stream ideas, and that's way more likely to come a lot sooner now. So yeah, I didn't know that's what you guys wanted. I know you guys wanted a Sakamono Days tier list, but I don't think Kashimo has a reverse curse technique, no. Y'all, Yuki versus Kashimo, who is the worst kamikaze attempt? Kashimo, 110%. Yuki's kamikaze attempt literally almost took out the entire world, so If Toji hits NBA Kashima with inverted spear of heaven, wouldn't Kashima just die? I mean, I guess that's a good point. I didn't really consider Toji having inverted spear of heaven, so I guess that's a good point. We indeed are still live. We're cooking. We're chilling. We're going around. This pronouncing is just the letters. I can't wait for that. A content creator I know you could do that stream with is Scruple. He's a goat in Sakade's content. I've seen some Scruple's kind of content. I think we disagree on a couple things, but I'm sure it would be fun content. Um, I do. I only just see his Sakamoto Days criticism videos, but I haven't watched one, so I don't really know what his actual opinions are. But I would be interested to hear what he has to say. I'm sure there's. I'm sure we have plenty. We've had plenty to talk about. I'm always interested in talking about Sakamoto Days. It's one of my fucking favorite ongoing series right now. Is it safe to say Kenjaku is a they, them, he, Yuji Mama, and a daddy to these cursed spirits? So here's one thing that I love about Kenjaku is Kenjaku is I know what a question, right? On Pride Month of every month. Of any month, no. The one thing I like about Kenjaku, it's the same reason I like Alucard, and other kind of villains. To say I like Muzan is interesting, but um, I like villains that don't give a damn about gender. You know what? Who gives a fuck? It's not fucking important, bro. I'll beat your ass whether I'm a boy. I'll beat your ass whether I'm a girl. Like when Alucard turns into like a little girl to fight what's his name in Hellsing Ultimate to fight the butler Walter, fucking fire, bro. That is so cool. I'm like no, I don't think that makes Alucard lose aura. If anything, that's 10 times cooler. Kenjaku being like, yeah, you know what? I need to fucking fulfill my goal. I used, and you know what? The best thing about Kenjaku too is that is like an unsaid thing. This could just be headcanon, but it makes sense, right? If Kenjaku made the original death paintings using another woman to bear the burden of the pregnancies, and Kenjaku was like, "Look, that work, but in his eyes, the death paintings were failures." So he said, "Okay, let me try this again." However, this time I'm going to bear the burden of pregnancy myself. I'm going to take a woman's body. I'm going to seduce Jin Itadori, and then I'm going to get pregnant myself, bear the burden of pregnancy myself, and guarantee that the child that comes from it is going to be able to be a Sukuna finger vessel. Um, okay, based. All right, dude. That is how fucking dedicated you were to the plan. Okay, you know what? That's more power than I probably would have, to be honest with you, right? Like, no matter what way you want to look at it, I know everyone makes the joke that Kenjaku took back shots for the plan. Well, you know what? I'm sorry. Are you willing to take back shots for your plan? No? Oh, that's crazy. I thought you were dedicated. I guess not. That's insane that you would criticize Kenjaku for what? Having more fucking willpower than you? How fucking beta. I'm just kidding. But, well, not really. I'm not kidding, but I'm not, you know what? You get what I'm saying. You say you have resolve, but have you taken a penis before? Listen, I'm just saying, people be saying that they're willing to do anything it takes to succeed. Are you really willing to do whatever it takes? Is that a true statement? How are you gonna fault? How are you gonna fault Kenjaku for being true to his word? Izakaizen, thank you for the 5. I've been seeing a lot of Sakamoto Days anime slander. What's that about? Also, what curse technique do you think is the best in the verse for real life scenarios? To answer the second half of the question, definitely Idol Transfiguration. Idol Transfiguration, without a doubt, is the best curse technique to have in real world scenarios. You can motherfucking cure cancer with Idol Transfiguration. Like, you could do so much with Idol Transfiguration as a whole, and use it for good. You could also use it for terrible things. You could be just as bad as Mahito. But if you weren't, a piece of shit, and you wanted to do good things with the world, Idol Transfiguration is probably the best curse technique. Best curse technique. And a lot of Sakamoto Days slander. What's that about? So the thing with Sakamoto Days anime, and I understand it because I was one of these people that was slandering Sakamoto Days anime. The Sakamoto Days manga, the artwork is a big part of why the manga is great. Like, don't get me wrong, there's still, the characters are amazing. The character designs are fun. I love the characters' personalities. I love theirs, I love the, despite what a lot of people argue about, I love the backstories of the characters. I love short, little, small stories like the Rion and Uzuki backstory. That shit was awesome, in my opinion. I love that. I don't care what anybody says. That shit was really cool. Everyone's like, oh, Uzuki wasn't even banging her. Dog, it's like, I can tell you're 14 just based off your opinion. Stop. It is a decent romance for a fucking assassin manga in a shonen magazine for teenage boys. Okay, it passes the test for me. It's enough for me to believe that these two people had feelings for each other, and that these two people would care enough to go on, and change the course of their lives, or Uzuki would go down the dark path that he does because of this woman that was one of the first people to ever treat him, one, like a human being, and two, they genuinely were able to live together and had views of being, different, fucking living a different life. I love that shit. I don't care what anybody says. So yeah, I think Sakamoto Days stands up for a lot of reasons. But one big thing that a lot of people really love about Sakamoto Days is the art, the choreography, the fight scenes, and how much aura and fun and just greatness is packed into the direction of the manga. So when you have an anime adaptation that leaves a little bit to be desired. Don't get me wrong, the anime adaptation is not terrible. It's serviceable. Some of the fight, like episode 4, Shin fighting the poison guy, I think his name is Taku, on the roller coaster, I think they did a decent job with that fight. The scene with Sakamoto fighting Boiled, I think was lackluster. Lou fighting Ants, I think was decent. The Sakamoto Days anime has good moments. But I think it gets bogged down, sadly, because it doesn't have 100% of its whole entire. It doesn't have enough time to mold the rest of the series, right? The director himself has said that he wants to dedicate all of the time and effort into very important set pieces, like very important moments in the arcs and the chapters. But when you do that, that's a nice way to say that we really only have time, workforce and labor to focus all of the love and care into these one specific scenes, and then the rest of the episode we kind of just do we kind of just pop out, however we can, right? So I don't think the season 1 of the anime was terrible. Anime onlys liked it, and that's the most important part about it, right? It doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter that you want the manga readers to be happy. You want the manga readers to support, the anime. That's, you already have a foot in the door with them. So upsetting them isn't always the best business practice. But anime onlys that didn't realize what they were missing didn't have much to complain about. So that means that it was okay. My only hope is that season 2, with the success of not season 2, with Core 2, with the success of Core 1, I hope that Core 2 does have a little bit more time and effort put into it. But with how fast that it came out, I doubt that. With how fast we got Core 2, I really don't see that happening. However, they got almost about as much time as Science Saru did for Dandadan, so maybe I'm wrong. Because Science Saru adapted Dandadan amazingly. So, we can hope. Iron Eyes, thank you so much for popping in. Happy to see you as always, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. I do read Blue Lock, by the way. I love Blue Lock. I'm not all the way caught up yet. I think the last chapter I read, I think the PXG match was like 2-3 or 2-2. They was like the next person to score the goal, the next team to score the goal wins the match, or was it 3? I don't know. The PXG match was in like its final part. Was where I last left off on Blue Lock. I do need to catch up. I've been reading Gaki Akuta recently, and that shit is fire. That shit is great. I didn't realize that the anime was coming out in like a fucking month, and I'm hyped that I'm reading it just before the anime comes out, because you bet your ass we're getting some Gaki Akuta content out there. Fucking let's go! My guy with the 10 gifted memberships. Thank you so much, Isagaisen, for everything that you have done this stream. It genuinely does mean the world to me. All the donations that you've done. You've been single handedly, you single handedly pay my rent this month. I'm just kidding. But no, seriously, thank you so much for the donations. I really do appreciate the support, and I know it's kind of hard for me to appear sincere and appear genuine from behind a camera and behind a phone, but genuinely from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And I know I've said thank you to you a million times, but with due reason, you deserve the thank yous. Himsagi is indeed that ninja. Who would win, 20 Fingers Sukuna or Muzan? A fucking Sukuna, without a doubt. Muzan is a bitch. Muzan sucks, man. Damn, you were hoping. Oh, you have to. Oh, Isakaizen, I think you have to join yourself. I don't think you can gift yourself a member. I'm sorry. I don't think you have to. I don't think you can gift yourself a member. I think you have to actually join yourself. I might be wrong on that. But I don't think. I don't think you. I don't think you can gift yourself a member. I don't think that's a thing. Adult Gone versus Meruem. Who would you think is winning? Why not? I have no idea, dude. I don't know how YouTube's membership. YouTube sometimes drops the ball when it comes to their streaming stuff. YouTube is really good in some scenarios compared to other platforms, and then in other scenarios, YouTube's memberships just don't fucking make sense. I still wish that YouTube members would not get ads and stuff like that for streams like Twitch does. I think if you pay money to support a creator, then you shouldn't get ads for that. But I understand YouTube is trying to shill out for their fucking for their YouTube Premium. Twitch doesn't have Twitch Premium where you get no ads, whatever. You just pay for the creator and you get no ads. So I understand why YouTube doesn't fucking do what they do, but I think it's bullshit personally. Pre-Rose, Gone is a chance. Post-Rose, Gone is cooked. I mean, Neferpito does specifically say that they think that Adult Gone's claws could reach the king, right? That's what they say? So it's a possibility. So to be honest with you, I would have to really think about it. Big scaling questions like that. I hate answering without doing enough research behind it first, because I don't want to be like, oh, I think this character wins. And then I'm just like, I do go back to your research and I'm like, I was completely wrong. Like I did for the fucking Yuji versus Pochita thing that I did on stream earlier, and I started looking at it, I'm like, oh, Pochita is actually probably a little bit stronger than I'm giving him credit for. And now that whole entire segment of that stream is just me yapping about incorrect information. Definitely take what I say with a grain of salt. And thank you so much, Izakaizen, again for the 10 gifted members. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. My oil baron friend. Thank you so much for all the support and the donations. I genuinely can't thank you enough. Sheesh. But yeah, I think going based off of Adult Gone and going based off of Meruem, if it's post-Rose Meruem, I think post-Rose Meruem wins. Obviously, post-Rose Meruem is probably, I think, the strongest character in all of Hunter x Hunter. I don't think anyone has ever even come close to post-Rose Meruem's level of power, and I think that's confirmed even in I think that's even confirmed in the series itself, or even in data books or something like that, that post-Rose Meruem is quite literally the strongest character in the entire series. What up, Luan Jax? Thank you so much. Just watched the Jin Woo video and you really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That video took like 3 months to make, so I really do appreciate that. That is one of the, especially with how controversial it ended up being too, with how people, I know people don't like the Jin Woo scaling that I came to, but I think with everything that I laid out in that video, I think it just makes the most sense, personally. And I did a whole 2-hour stream going over all the Ragnarok feats and everything like that people kept bringing up, and I still wasn't able to change my mind. So I am. It's just one of those things. The same with my Naruto versus Bleach Sternritter video. That video is stuck in limbo because people are upset that I didn't put Bleach as universal when like I literally did so much to try and find Bleach being universal, and I just couldn't find it. But and the thing is like it sucks doing those 3 hour streams because you get a YouTube comment where it's like, oh, well, Bleach is this because of this. And it's like, I did a 3 hour stream and we talked about that for 45 minutes. No, that doesn't, that you can't use that feat the way that you want to. So yeah, it's just kind of rough. Just about to watch that stream too. Those streams are fun. I generally do enjoy doing those streams. It's the same kind of stream that I enjoy doing these streams. Literally. Like, you know what I mean? I love doing streams like this where we can just sit around and talk about the source material, get into the nitty gritty facts, and if I'm wrong and one of you guys prove me wrong, I am more than willing to fucking admit that I'm wrong. You know what I mean? More than willing to admit that I'm wrong. Like I said, in the Pochita thing, literally, I was just like, damn, you know what? I was wrong on that. I still don't necessarily know if I believe Pochita is fucking city level. I would probably have to, again, I would have to sit down and do more research, which I plan to do soon, actually. But again, yeah, no, I mean, giving him city block to multi-city block might have been a little underwhelming. I could be right. Maybe I do all the research and I found out I was right, but I'm willing to believe that I was indeed wrong. Izakaza, thank you for the note to the dono, the $2. Jinwoo won best main character. Listen, I don't care what anybody says. Solo Leveling deserved anime of the year, and Solo Leveling is not an industry plant. Solo Leveling is not a bad anime. It's just if you don't like Solo Leveling, it's not for you. It's just not for you. You know? It's just that, some people prefer anime that has side characters with depth and side characters with a bunch of backstories and a very complicated story with layers and twists and turns and world building. And you know what? Sometimes you just want to watch a strong ass motherfucker just fucking have a power fantasy and never lose. Yeah, I like Solo Leveling. Solo Leveling is. I don't have the whole series, but I have. I have the first couple of books there. I love Solo Leveling. You know what I mean? Like, I'm willing to accept Solo Leveling for what it is. I understand that, is Sung Jin Woo the only developed character in the whole story? Yeah, pretty much. But that's fine. More than Frieren? Well, no, actually, I do like Frieren more than Solo Leveling. Maybe I should take it back. I don't maybe Frieren should have won the award, I think. But I like Frieren more than Solo Leveling because I do prefer like Frieren being a much more character-based story. Frieren is the exact type of story that I love. Frieren is one of my favorite recent stories of all time. I'm all the way caught up to Frieren manga. If you go to my channel, I have plenty of Frieren content because I love Frieren. I was very hyper fixated on Frieren. I can't wait for the second season to come out. I highly recommend Frieren. Frieren is a story unlike any other, but I also understand why Solo Leveling has more mainstream appeal than Frieren does. Because not for nothing, Frieren is a much slower paced character character driven story. Whereas Solo Leveling is pure aura farming. Pure aura farming and just hype moments. And you know what? Not for nothing. Aura farming and hype moments sell fucking seats, baby. You know what I mean? I see why you never had issues with Sakamoto days. I mean, if you want to take that as like why, like yes, I'm more than willing to accept the way that stories goes. To be honest with you, I found in my space as a creator, and making content over time, and especially seeing what people comment and like and stuff like that. We're back? I think my stream went in and out for a minute. Are we good? The one thing that I've noticed is that I'm just more willing to accept things. Like for example, the Devil May Cry Netflix series. I said this recently, but the Devil May Cry Netflix series, people hated that because it wasn't what they wanted. It wasn't the exact same thing as Devil May Cry 3. It wasn't the exact same thing that they wanted or they appreciated or that they knew about the original series. That's fine. I don't need to do that. I'm willing to say, okay, let's see what you give me. Same thing with Arcane. Arcane season two. People loved Arcane season one, and then Arcane season two went in a completely different direction than what season one was originally hinting at. And I like listen. Like when I went through season one, I'm like, oh my god, so many of these things are gonna happen in season two, and I'm so excited to see them. None of those things that I was expecting and waiting for happened in season two, and I still loved season two because not for nothing, if a creator is able to, go take the story in a direction that I wasn't expecting, but it's still fun and it's still exciting and it still makes sense, then I will still enjoy it. Um, it doesn't matter to me if it's not like what has been theorized for the last 3 years. Now, don't get me wrong. There's still situations like where you have Westworld and stuff like that where they change the story so because people already figured it out. That I don't think is good. But if the author is taking the story in a direction that wasn't originally perceived to go in, I just think that you can. I think you can definitely. I definitely think that like certain things has happened. Like I'm willing to accept again. Solo leveling is just brain turn off, power fantasy. Watch Sung Jin Woo beat an enemy that he's definitely going to beat, and there's really not any stakes because I know Sung Jin Woo is going to win. That's fine. I can enjoy that for that. But I can also enjoy a story like Freerun. I can also enjoy a story like, Berserk and stories like all these, stories that do have depth and complexity and, layers and all of this stuff because I can enjoy both. I like different things. I just like fun things. If you can make a story fun, that's what's important to me. That is what's important to me. There's a video that I watch and I quote it all the time. Shouts out. I don't know the exact creator. I would have to look them up. They made a Full Metal Alchemist video on why the difference between Full Metal Alchemist 2003 and Brotherhood, and the homunculi, how the homunculi differ, and how people claim the homunculi are better in 2003 because they have darker backstories. They have more meaning and more character tied into the story, everything like that. Where the person makes the argument, and I completely agree that not for nothing, you know what? Like the homunculi might be more caricatures and more less deep and have less backstory in Brotherhood, but that's just because they're fulfilling a different role. The story is completely different in Brotherhood. Like Gluttony or whoever doesn't need to have a crazy backstory as to why he needed to be born. Gluttony is just gluttony, and you know what? He fits the story perfectly. Whereas in 2003, sure, he has all of these backstories and this depth and layer. I haven't seen 2003, so I might be wrong. I might be using the worst homunculi to make the example with, but he serves a different purpose. Does that make 2003 better because he has more layers and more depth? No, not all the time, because you can still like a character just because one, you relate to them, one, you think they're fun to watch on screen, or one, just because they have fun red hair that you like to see. You can like a character for whatever reason, you want to. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be, this deep layered complex story. Is it fun when that happens? Hell yeah. Is that required? No. If you like something, that's great. That's all that matters. Let me catch up on. I think I missed a couple donos here. Let me catch up here. I just want to make sure I didn't miss Izakai's in here. Jinwoo, best main character. I agree. I got on a little bit of a tangent there. Izakai's, thank you for the dono. Have I read Lookism? I have not read Lookism, but you're not the first person to bring that up to me. I don't know what Lookism is, but I feel like you're not the first person to mention that. I feel like you're not the first person to mention that to me. Damn, we've been streaming for over 2 hours, guys. That's fucking insane. We've really been going fucking hardcore. We've been going long. These vertical streams are good because we can just vibe out, genuinely. Just fucking chill out, talk about some good shit. Gojo versus Virgil from Devil May Cry. Virgil, if you give Yamato the ability to cut through space, which it can, then yeah, Virgil is just fucking world cutting slash at home Gojo. He's just cutting him in half. Boom, bang, done. It's over. Heard some crazy stuff about DMC, bro. Bro, those Devil May Cry videos that I made were so much fun. It was so much fun to make those videos. I love Devil May Cry. I've been a fan since I was 14. So making those Virgil and Dante videos, they were fucking great. They were fucking awesome. It's just so much fun. Devil May Cry is such a fun series. It's one of my favorites. I want to do a video on Alucard too from Hellsing because he is also a fucking demon. I also want to do a video on Sans and Sephiroth. But I feel like just having some fun video game content would be nice. It seems like the people really enjoy that. I've been on the Expedition 33 grind, and again, I mean, let me take the time to go on my soapbox here. If you haven't played Expedition 33, you are missing out. You need to play that fucking game. It's one of the greatest games of the year, if not the last couple of years. It is original. It's fun. It's engaging. The story is so much fucking so much fun to enjoy. The characters are so good. The soundtrack and music is beautiful. Play Expedition 33 if you have not. What do you think about chakra derived techniques like lightning style, moving as fast as actual lightning? Is it fair to make that assumption? I mean, if we're talking about Naruto, yes, specifically because now I can see you have to be very clear, right? Because unless you're making real lightning, then no, you can't give it that lightning speed. If the chakra is just if it's like a fake lightning made by the chakra and like it's imitating lightning, I think you could make an argument as to why it wouldn't be as fast as lightning. However, if you could say that this person is actually creating lightning, then yeah, I would give them lightning speed. I'm gonna have one by the end of the year. I'm buying Expedition 33 immediately once I do. Yeah, Coconut, you have to. It's such a good game. I love it. It's been out for like almost a month or two, and it's still fucking amazing. Still fucking amazing. But yeah, I think we're gonna be entering. A wind down phase soon. Just because we've been going for a long ass fucking time, just yapping. I'm gonna lose my voice from doing this. And we do need to stream tomorrow. For Shonen Sunday for the Shonen Sunday chapters. But I'll give it another 10, 15 minutes. I'll still hang out. We'll wind down, as that's the definition of the phrase. We'll give it a little bit. Um, it's 4:43 now, 4:43 p.m. EST for me, June 7th, 2025. Hope you guys are all doing well. Hit that like button if you haven't already. The like button sincerely helps the stream way more than you know. Um, you can amp the jutsu depending on the amount of chakra you pour into it. It's dubious. I enjoyed the Kagurabachi video yesterday. Hey, I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you liked it. I have been loving Kagurabachi. That's always a fun topic to do. Um, Next Monday we're gonna do Sukuna versus the villain wheel, so that should be fun. See how far Sukuna can go outside of his series. Derek's luck, Yuta versus Kurapika. Karapika. I'm sorry. I my brain immediately goes to Kurapika, but I know it's Karapika. I apologize. Yuta versus Karapika. My brain wants to go to Yuta. Um, I feel like my brain wants to go to Yuta. I'd probably give it to Yuta. I don't think Domain. I don't think Yuta would have. I'm sorry. I don't think Karapika would have any answer for Yuta's Domain expansion. Even if you took Domain out, I think Yuta would still probably win. I just don't think Karapika's got the sauce against Yuta. Karapika is no joke. I love Karapika. I think Karapika is a fucking strong ass fucking character. I love Karapika is one of my favorite Hunter x Hunter villains, fucking hunters. There's a reason why I did a Karapika versus Hisoka video, and spent a lot of time on that because I love talking about Karapika. Succession War is probably my favorite arc in Hunter x Hunter. Karapika is a bit more resourceful. I don't think he's cooked. I just think the issue is I don't think Karapika has anything that really helps him against Yuta. That's really what it comes down to, right? I think Karapika is fucking resourceful. I just don't think Karapika has anything that really helps him against Yuta. I think Yuta has more going for him in that matchup than Karapika does. Sasuke definitely beats Yuta without a doubt. Sasuke scales so much higher. What up, China? How you doing, China? China. Every time we're in wind down phase, we're gonna end stream in like 10 minutes. Come on, girl. I'm just kidding. I know it's not your fault. I get sad because I know you're trying to hang out, and every single time you pop in, it's like 10 minutes before we leave. Karapika isn't cooked. He just has zero destructive power. He won't be able to damage Yuta by conventional means. Yeah, that's really what it is. I just don't think Karapika's got that sauce to get, especially when you consider again every fight against Yuta is a Yuta and Rika duo, right? It's always a 2v1, and Rika is a problem. Rika would be a big issue for Karapika. So yeah, I think I think Yuta wins. Sorry, I'm cracking my neck here. Been sitting in this fucking chair, looking at this phone, getting some hypertension. Kagurabachi scaling is probably around city block to multi-city block. We did that Samura live stream. I'm not sure if that's the Kagurabachi video you were talking about. But the Samura live stream, could Samura survive Jujutsu Kaisen? Samura is pretty fucking strong. City to multi-city block. You could I know a lot of people argue that, Samura's, blocking out the snow comes in way higher, makes him, country level. But again, if the Sword Saint wasn't even able to destroy an entire island, I don't see how Somura would be able to destroy an entire country, um, and lose. Happy Saturday, everyone. Yesterday was my birthday. China, happy birthday, girl. Shout out to you. Thank you so much for the dono, but happy birthday, China. I am always happy to see you in stream. You're a big pillar of the community, even still. Even though, I know with Jujutsu Kaisen over, we don't get to, as a community, we don't get to hang out as much, but sincerely, we feel your absence, your pillar, you're still a big pillar of the community. So just so you're not forgotten, gone but not forgotten. Thank you so much, and a happy birthday, girl. Hope you had a good one, and I hope this year is better than the last. How much do you need to pay me to read Yu Yu Hakusho? Don't pay me anything to read Yu Yu Hakusho. Please don't start paying me. Don't start donoing just to start getting me to read series, please. Please, no. But I will take your recommendation, and I will take your words into heart. Um, I do need to read Yu Yu Hakusho. I got sucked into Gaki Akuta, but Yu Yu Hakusho is on my list. I promise you, Yu Yu Hakusho is on my list without a doubt. Obey. How would you feel about a JJK versus X Yu Yu Hakusho crossover? That would be fun. I think I don't know how high Yu Yu Hakusho skills. Actually, didn't we do that recently with the Denji thing? Yusuke is literally scaling to like moon to planetary level. Maybe it's not as feasible. Luan, thanks so much for popping in. Nothing outer about Sung Jin Woo. That's a base closing statement. Paying no up to read Boku no Pico. Oh my god. Goodness me. Goodness me. Just came in here to say Gojo was winning for the majority of the fight against Sukuna, and the only reason he lost is because he was caught off guard because he had already assumed he won. Yeah, definitely. I definitely think I definitely know that Gege confirmed the caught off guard. I mean, not for nothing. The Gege quote was honestly very obvious if you thought about it. If you were reading the series and like you were like, you know what, it was obvious that Gojo got caught off guard and wasn't expecting the world cutting slash. Like, I know Gege coming out and admitting it, was very important, for Gojo and Sukuna fans. But yeah, I just think I think it was pretty obvious Gojo always got caught off guard. Uh, we really have no idea what would have happened after the unlimited hollow purple if Gojo dodged. All Gege said was that he would have avoided a fatal blow, meaning Gojo just wouldn't have died. 110% G. That was kind of the main point of the stream, to be honest with you, and the main point of what I've always been trying to say in my shorts and everything like that is that there's just no guarantee that just the fact that Gojo could have dodged the world cutting slash doesn't immediately mean that Gojo was winning. It just doesn't mean that. And that at the end of the day, that's what I really hope to put out at the end of the day. When did I start watching anime and reading manga? When I was like, I mean, if you want to count Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z, when I was like 5, 6, when I was super young. But when I actually really started getting into anime and manga, I was like 12, 13, and that's when, actually probably younger than that. When did I was like 8, maybe when Naruto first came out? Maybe a little bit older than that, 8, 9. So yeah, very, very young. I got my first manga when I was like 12, though, 11 or 12. That's when I first started going out buying Naruto manga, and then I started getting into Bleach later than that. And yeah, that was like my big like anime manga awakening. But I'd been watching again Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z, all that shit way earlier. Full power, non-incarnated Sukuna Namek Frieza. Frieza's killing that motherfucker. Frieza's stomping on that motherfucker for breakfast. Gotta read the Pokemon manga. It gets dark. I know. Obey. You are not telling me anything I don't know. I need to read that Pokemon manga. I have wanted to read and do content on Pokemon. I'm assuming you're talking about Pokemon Adventures. I have wanted to read and do content on that Pokemon manga for years now, and I just have never had the time to read it. So it is on my fucking list. I'm telling you, I want to read that shit. And I want to make content on it too. Um, Call it though? No, I'm not. I'm not a big fan of Mega Man. I played one or two Mega Man games in my youth, but never to completion, and I don't know jack about the story. Um, I just don't think even though he was winning majority of the fight, I think Sukuna still has plenty of good options. Again, I don't really want to relitigate and go into all of this again. We're definitely entering wind down phase, and the stream is going to be over in a couple minutes. So the VOD will 110% be available. I go through all of my arguments, all of the reasonings, and I also answered a couple different chats and went back and forth with a couple people in chat. Throughout the VOD. So please feel free to go through the VOD. But yeah, we're gonna end stream soon. I do apologize. I love you very much and appreciate you. And if you haven't already, please hit that like button. But yeah, I just can't because if I get pulled into this debate again, we're gonna be here for another 3 hours, and I'm already beginning to lose my voice. And we still need to stream tomorrow. Jesse, thank you for being a member for 12 months. Gojo over Sukuna because I like him more. You know what? I can't argue that. I can't argue that, Jesse. That's a legit that's a legit reason. So you didn't read Gege Akutami's message about the fight. If that is what you come away from this almost 2.5 hour stream, the first hour and a half of which almost being everything that we talked about, discussing the whole reason of Gege Akutami's message being why the stream even happened, then so be it. I was never gonna convince you otherwise. That's fine. That's more than okay. I can't guide you out of this forest. That's really what it comes down to. Everyone give shouts out happy birthday Jogo gang. Give a big happy birthday to China Doll. Belated birthday, but still a happy birthday indeed. Wish her a good birthday year. Thoughts on Boruto time skip? You know what? The Boruto time skip was great the first couple of chapters, and then it kind of got boring, and then I stopped reading it. I stopped reading around chapter 14, 15. But yeah, I will. I should get back into reading Boruto, but I just the first like 9, 10 chapters, I was like, this is hype. This is what we were waiting for. Boruto's finally good. And then there was a bunch of chapters where it got really, really slow, and I was like, oh yeah, we're back into the Boruto formula. Boruto is a manga that has some really hype moments in between very sparingly. Very fucking sparingly. In between a bunch of mid and slow stuff in between half the time. I don't think it's terrible, but it's definitely not my favorite. Would Yuji and Toto be able to beat Yuta? With Toto, I mean, if we're talking Vibra Slap Toto, even though the Vibra Slap broke, if we give my man another Vibra Slap, I mean, damn, Vibra Slap Toto was like special grade level, bro. If that's not a temporary special grade, I don't know what the fuck was. People trying to say fucking forearm Sukuna was low on output. Brother was fucking dealing with the 200 and the 50 swaps per second, whatever the fuck, how many swaps Boogie Woogie was doing with the Vibra Slap. That was crazy. If you could fix Boruto, what would you fix about the series? I would literally, you know what? I would do one major fix to Boruto, and I would fix everything. And I would fix everything. I would stop making Sasuke look like such a fucking nerd every time he's on screen, and I think Boruto would be 10 times better for it. I would stop making Sasuke look like a fucking loser. I don't know what the author of Boruto, I don't remember what his name is, Ikimoto maybe. I don't know what he's got against Sasuke and making Sasuke fucking scale down every single time he can, bro, but adult Sasuke should be fucking so much cooler and have so much aura than he actually does. Sasuke every single time he's on screen is getting bitched. Exactly. He gets bitched for no reason. He really it's crazy, dude. I don't know what kind of hate boner they got for Sasuke in that manga, but Sasuke exists to get dog walked in that manga, and that's the problem. How do you go from having the most aura in the entire series to being a fucking loser and sucking every single time you're on screen? Never having any chakra, Sasuke. Why do you never have any chakra? Have you read Hunter x Hunter? If you have, do you think that when he transformed, he could have actually beat Meruem? Are you talking about Adult Gon? We talked about this earlier. I have read Hunter x Hunter to all the way what it's up against right now. Post Rose Meruem beats Adult Gon without a doubt. I think Post Rose Meruem is confirmed the strongest character in the entire series. But if pre Rose Meruem, Adult Gon might be able to win. That's a big might. Izakaizen, thank you so much for becoming a member of the channel. I sincerely do appreciate it. If you're a new member, we got plenty of new members this stream. Do not forget to join the community. Do not forget to join the Discord. Again, the disc if you think the Jogo Gang is fun, if you enjoy these streams, definitely feel free to carry the community on into the No Operator Discord. If you're a member, the Discord link is on the membership tab in the channel. You go right there, click the link, and you join the Discord. And please join the Discord and have fun. If you are not a member and you want to join the Discord, it's only $1 to get access to the Discord. And I don't make a membership for the Discord because I want your money. I make it so it's easy to vet. Discords, especially with just me and my small mod team being able to handle it, Discords get raided very often by bots. They also get gore pictures and everything sent to them. So it is just so much easier to vet by making it members only. So again, that's why I made the Discord membership only the dollar. Big time Jogo Gang is still $5. But yeah, if so, like I said, if you want to be a big time Jogo Gang member, get all the membership perks, please feel free. But if you just want to join the Discord, it is only a dollar. And I do appreciate anyone that supports the channel. It means the world to me, especially if your name is Izakaizen or if your name is China Doll. You guys are big time supporters, and I appreciate you guys more than anything. Um, but yeah, guys, we're coming up on 5 p.m. for me. Been streaming for almost 2.5 hours, so I think it is time to call it a day. Are there any pressing matters before the council, adjourns? Before we call it a day? Sasuke better get that Hashirama cell arm. You know what? Honestly, I need that Sasuke turnaround. Someone call me when Sasuke turns around, and I will read Boruto again. Call me when Sasuke gets a power up. Call me when he gets that Hashirama Rinnegan. You really think Hunter x Hunter will eventually get animated again? We can hope and pray, but I doubt it. I doubt it. I mean, who knows if Black Clover is ever going to get a follow-up anime? You know what I mean? There's plenty of anime that I'm surprised haven't been picked up yet. So we'll see. Hunter x Hunter, Togashi's probably just waiting for there to be more content. But yeah, probably in like 2034. Yeah, that's honestly the most reasonable thing. Adult Gon versus Netero. Uh, is what are we talking? Peak Netero or old Netero? Peak Netero probably wins. Old Netero more questionable. But yeah, everyone, thank you all so much for the nonstop support. Thank you all so much for the love and the financial support. Thanks for paying my rent. I'm just kidding. I know that's a big joke, but thank you seriously so much for the support. All of the donations go to making better content for you guys, and paying editors that I can produce more content faster. Also, being a member, it makes me be able to see your messages easier. So if you guys have recommendations, reading recommendations, content recommendations, it's much easier for me to see that stuff. So thank you so much to the Jogo Gang. Thank you so much to you guys that support me and everything that I do. It means the absolute world to me. Wouldn't be here without you guys. And again, even if you aren't donating, it does genuinely mean the world to me that you'd spend even a second even a second being here hanging out with me on stream. So that means the world to me as well. Um, every single like on the stream means the absolute world to me as well. It helps the channel way more than you know. So hit that like button if you can on your way out. It really does help a lot. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Yeah, stay hydrated. Thank you to GamerSups for sponsoring the stream as always. GamerSups.gg/NoOp. Use my code NoOp for 10% off. That GamerSups is delicious, sincerely. If you're wondering how I was able to sit here and yap for 2.5 hours, it's the GamerSubs, baby. So thank you, GamerSubs, for sponsoring as always. Code is in the link. Link is in the description of the stream. I'm pretty sure there's a pinned message for GamerSubs.gg/NoOp. But yeah, use my code, 10% off their order. Get you some of that Stone Ocean motherfucking flavor. They have both mineral water and bath water. Wait, what? Yep, you heard it here first. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if they got mineral and bath water. That I don't know. I know they got AFK and they got I know they got AFK for some sleep. They got some nice ramen noodles if you want a nice snack, and they got the Gamer Sub supplement if you need some energy. But y'all, I sincerely love and appreciate every single one of you guys. Yeah, I don't even know what the hell that was about. Yeah, that's yeah, news to me. But what an interesting way to end stream, huh? What an interesting way to end stream. How do I end stream? How do I end the stream? Oh, I figured it out. Wow, that's embarrassing. All right, now it's gone. Okay, everyone have a great rest of the day, a great Saturday. And again, if you're reading Sakamoto Days, if you're reading Kagurabachi, check us out 11:30 a.m. stat. 30 minutes after the chapter comes out, we'll be reacting and reviewing to those chapters on Sunday, everyone. Love y'all, and I'll see you guys in the next stream. See you tomorrow. Peace.